Yeah.
Okay. It has been a very tumultuous last 24 days for the Michigan football program. A sign-stealing scandal that all started around a low-level staffer named Connor Stallions has just plagued this program and really put it in the national media light nonstop over the last month. Now, today, this team is without their head coach, Jim Harbaugh, once again for the fourth time this season. They already dealt with a 3-game suspension of Jim Harbaugh at the beginning of the year for some low-level recruiting violations. But once again, the Wolverines will be without their head coach today as they face the number 10 ranked team in the country on the road at Penn State. The Penn State Nittany Lions, led by James Franklin, get their second biggest test of the year. For the Wolverines, it's their first biggest, coming in number 3 in the country in the college football playoff rankings. Hello and welcome to WCBN Sports. My name is Neal Sinha. Joined alongside me is William Gregory. We also have Owen Klein and Coby Segal on the call for later today. William, first big test for the Wolverines today, on the road in a tough environment and against the 10th best team in the country. How do you think Michigan deals without having their head coach?
I think so much of the narrative has been structured around what's going on off the field. But if you take a look at these two teams on the field, they're two of the top 10 teams in the country, without a doubt. Penn State, one of the best defenses in the country. By far, Michigan's toughest test on that side of the football this season. You could make arguments that their offense is not the toughest test Michigan has seen, given Penn State's struggles to make explosive plays against teams like Ohio State. But these two teams are set for an exciting, exciting game. That's why the college football world right now at noon is looking here at Beaver Stadium in the shadow of Nittany Mountain in State College, Pennsylvania.
Yeah, and just, we're not going to go over this over and over throughout this broadcast, but just to recap what's gone on. Jim Harbaugh was suspended by Big Ten Commissioner Tony Petitti just yesterday around 4 p.m. The Wolverines had already left. Their plane had already taken off from Detroit towards State College. And right as they landed, they were informed that Jim Harbaugh would not be coaching this game and will not be coaching the rest of the regular season. Now, the Wolverines, led by President Santa Ono, came up with a very aggressive legal plan in which they filed an injunction to the courts. But that was not able to be passed through for a temporary restraining order, and Jim Harbaugh will not be coaching today. We want to be very clear about that. He is not on the sidelines. He is not in the booth. He is not here in Beaver Stadium. And so the Wolverines will have to be going without him as we listen to the national anthem. And with that national anthem going on, we are back underway and live here from Beaver Stadium in Happy College in State College, Pennsylvania. Number 3 Michigan getting set to play number 10 Penn State. William, who are the big players for Penn State that Michigan needs to be on the lookout for today?
Well, Chop Robinson, according to reports, will play today. The transfer from Maryland is a devastating pass rusher off the edge for Penn State. He was injured in that game against Ohio State that Penn State lost 20-12. He'll be available. On the offensive side of the ball, the two running backs, Nick Singleton and Katron Allen, maybe not meeting the expectations that were laid out after their breakout freshman seasons last year. As we get the Veterans Day flyover, wow, that was nearly deafening. Breaks a train of thought. But quarterback Drew Aller will have his Kent State transfer Dante Cephas at wide receiver and Keandre Lambert-Smith, his wide receiver 2, They're maybe not the explosive pass catchers that we're used to seeing at Penn State. They're no Jahan Dotson, Parker Washington, Chris Godwin going back. But they offer a challenge for Michigan compared to what they've seen.
They certainly do. And, I mean, one thing that's been very clear about this Penn State team is that they take care of the football, and they're a very opportunistic defense. Plus 16 in the turnover margin on the season. Very impressive in comparison. The Wolverines are plus 9. A great team in terms of managing the football and creating turnovers is Michigan, but Penn State even better in terms of that category. You mentioned the running game. Nick Singleton and Katron Allen only averaging around 4.2 yards per carry in the rushing game. What do you think has gone wrong for Penn State in that aspect? Has it been more of the offensive line, or is it possibly maybe the running back room?
I watched the film against Ohio State, and it looked like they were struggling to figure out whether they were going to run with power or run a zone scheme on offense. It just hasn't been there for Penn State in the same way that it kind of hasn't been for Michigan in the running game. And I think we also are seeing with the clock stoppage rule being rescinded that a lot of teams' offensive productions aren't what we're used to seeing in games. Teams are getting used to that. And then there's this defensive renaissance, even in the NFL we're seeing it this year, where defense is coming back. It's less about the spread option or spread offense with the spread option kind of scheme, and more about 3 yards in a cloud of dust, playing sound defense. And it just so happens that teams haven't been able to run the football with as much effectiveness as the game has become less spread out than it has been over the past 5 or so years.
And on the flip side of the running game for Penn State, their defense, just spectacular, giving up 2 yards per carry in the running game. If you're looking at Michigan's side on offense, what do the Wolverines really need to do to attack this defense? And maybe give me a key player for today.
I think, as it's been all season, Roman Wilson, his big play ability, touchdown catching ability, the most receiving touchdowns for a Michigan wide receiver in the Jim Harbaugh era, is huge in this game. We saw Kalen King, the first-round projected cornerback for Penn State, get picked on a lot by Marvin Harrison Jr. in the game against Ohio State. And we heard a stat that Kalen King might actually be the worst-ranked PFF defender on Penn State this season. So I think Roman Wilson working on him, getting those big plays open. We've seen Michigan in these big games, in the non-conference and maybe the easier Big Ten games. They're very much the pound the rock, get it done on the ground, physical team. But against Ohio State the past few years, against Penn State, they've relied on the big passing plays a lot of times, the explosive plays. And that's what you have to do to beat a good team. That's what Penn State will need to do, in my opinion, and I'm unsure about their capability to do that given what we saw against Ohio State for them.
Sure. No, definitely. And, I mean, I think for the Wolverines, too, another thing to watch out for is this defense. You mentioned the Ohio State game for Penn State. The Nittany Lions really struggled all throughout that game, only had 12 points. And, sure, it was a great Ohio State defense. There's no doubts about it. But the Penn State offense was just stifled. It seems like Drew Aller hasn't really been given an unlocked playbook from James Franklin in this Penn State offense. For the Wolverines' defense, what do they need to continue to do to stifle opponents? Keep in mind, this is a Michigan team that comes into this game giving up less than 10 points a game at 6.7 per. I mean, just a spectacular defense. Any schemes that Jesse Minter develops, or is it same old, same old?
I think it's same old, same old. Michigan, as a team, is actually ranked first in the country in pass defense this season. And I think that against a quarterback like Drew Aller, it's not like Michigan has faced the cream of the crop at quarterback this season, so that has something to do with the passing numbers being as they are. I don't think Drew Aller is that much of a step up from what they've seen. He's got a very strong arm, a live arm. He's talented at driving the football, but I'm concerned with the accuracy. We saw against Ohio State that I think at one point he was close to 10 completions out of 30 attempts, which is quite frankly awful. He picked it up in the fourth quarter of that game with a garbage time touchdown, but I don't think that Aller presents a much bigger threat than what the Wolverines have seen, so I expect them to keep things similar on defense, especially with the coaching turmoil. You don't want to change too many things up this late in the year.
Definitely, and you know, of course, we can't overstate how important this game is for both of these teams. Penn State needs to win this game to stay alive in the Big Ten championship, or to stay alive, frankly, in winning the Big Ten East, I should say, to get to the Big Ten championship. For the Wolverines on the other side, a win today knocks Penn State pretty much out of contention, and then it comes all the way down to that November 25th matchup against their arch rivals, the Ohio State Buckeyes. And so very, very important game. Cannot state that enough. What, William, do you think for a Michigan team that hasn't really played anybody so far this season in terms of great opponents, is it a little bit do you think they can possibly be surprised early on in this game when you're suddenly matching up against one of the best defenses in the country, one of the best teams overall?
Well, we saw Michigan kind of get jumped on against Indiana and Rutgers in the first quarter. Those were the 2 times Michigan has trailed this season after their first quarter touchdowns. The fortunate thing for Michigan is they did not allow those opponents to score again afterwards. We've seen this Michigan team out of halftime, out of quarter breaks, put the foot down against teams that come out and surprise them. And I would expect more of the same. I don't think that this Michigan team, everyone's saying it's better than the past 2 playoff versions of Michigan football, and I tend to agree. So I'm not sure that we see a different outcome given that the last game, although it was at the Big House, ended 41-17, and it was really only close because of some turnovers and some weird stuff down at the red zones. So I'm looking forward to seeing Michigan play a very good opponent for the first time this season. But I think they're up to the task. UNLV is bowl eligible. Now they're up to 8 wins on the year. Nebraska will make a bowl. Rutgers will make a bowl. Michigan's played real teams. They're not just playing an FCS schedule. These are Power 5 opponents that will go to bowl games. But this is the first real test, an away game against the top 10 team in the country.
Most certainly. Just an absolutely electric environment here in Beaver Stadium. A decent amount of maize and blue, actually, in this crowd. A striped-out Beaver Stadium, I should say, for the Penn State fans in white and blue, or Nittany blue, I should say.
This is pretty cool to see. I have to say, I know we were a bit missing out on the whiteout, but a full striped stadium, these fans are into it. It's a super cool environment.
It most certainly is. And I'll ask you one last question before we get our color commentator Coby Segal on for this first half that's upcoming. William, any big predictions, any maybe surprises for this game that you might see? One key fact to keep in mind, neither of these teams have given up a point in the third quarter throughout the whole season, something to maybe watch out for. But anything on your mind?
Maybe it's not surprising, but this game might just be a low-scoring effort game. We've seen it a lot in Big Ten football this year. Obviously, Iowa the outlier. But with 2 defenses like this, I do think Michigan's offense is something special as well. But we could see this be a low-scoring game. You never know. In any event, I mean, this environment's awesome as we welcome in my broadcast partner for the first half, Coby Segal. I'm William Gregory. It's been a pretty fun pregame show so far. Thank you, Neal Sinha. You'll catch him on play-by-play with Owen Klein on color commentary in the second half here from Happy Valley in State College, Pennsylvania. Coby, how are you feeling? First football road trip for you.
Yeah, first football road trip. We got a great environment in Penn State. Not whiteout, but the stripe out is very cool to see. We got the band going. I think definitely a great energy here.
Absolutely. And it's nice that we kind of expected to be outside, but we get a nice press box at the 40-yard line. Our box is stationed a little bit further back than we're used to, I'd say, farther away from the field. But the stadium's beautiful. We're still waiting on the student section, I think, to fill in all the way. There's a big blank section towards the top, but the students are filing in. Couple 300-level seats. We still need some fans up there to get a packed house, but they got the pom-poms going. The environment is raring to go.
Yeah, and I mean, it'll be interesting to see. I don't know if there's a distinct advantage to kicking first or defending first for Michigan, but I mean, this Penn State crowd looks ready to go. So if Michigan's offense starts on the field, they're getting booed relentlessly right now. If their offense comes out on the field first, it's gonna be tough. This crowd is gonna be very, very loud the entire game.
And the Wolverines come out of the tunnel led by their head coach today, offensive coordinator, elevated to interim head coach Sharon Moore following the suspension of Jim Harbaugh, who we probably will not see walk the sidelines for Michigan until the national postseason if Michigan made the Big Ten championship. you could take the punishment from there, given that it is levied by the Big Ten. But teams are coming out of the tunnel. We're about 3 minutes away from kickoff. A decent showing by the Wolverine faithful here at Beaver Stadium. At midfield, there's a full stripe of Wolverine fans. A lot of maize. It seems as though the Penn State administration has stuck them in the Navy sections to keep the stripe going. But it's alternating stripes of white and blue here in Happy Valley.
This is a fantastic football environment. They are
enjoying listening to the chant. It's hypnotic. And you can only imagine what it's like in a whiteout, but this is a very fun environment to be a part of. Not too far of a drive from Ann Arbor. We made it last night, stayed about an hour away in Brookville, Pennsylvania. Driving into Penn State, traversing the mountains of Upper Appalachia. Always a pleasure in this part of the country, this part of the Big Ten. We're 2 minutes away from kickoff. Captains are meeting at midfield for the coin toss here on Veterans Day. The 9-0, undefeated, number 3 in the college football playoff ranking Michigan Wolverines set to take on the number 10, 8-1 Penn State Nittany Lions here at Beaver Stadium. Penn State's only loss, 20-12 to Ohio State in Columbus. Michigan seems to have lost the coin toss, will receive to begin the first half. They will be defending the right side of the field from our perspective. And there's virtually no wind here, maybe a little passing breeze, but it doesn't seem like the wind will play much of a factor, which is, very good on a beautiful November day. Early November, can't ask for much more. Clear skies almost. Some clouds, but no rain, as we've been used to seeing in Michigan. Those overcast early fall skies are ubiquitous back in the Mitten State. Today, a little bit of sun, not as cold as we thought. We're happy to be here. William Gregory joined by Coby Segal. We're 30 seconds away from kickoff, arguably the biggest game of the season in the Big Ten.
Yeah, college football playoff implications, Big Ten implications. Penn State wins, there's a possibility of a three-way tie in the East, but if Penn State loses, they're out of the East. But yeah, I mean, for Michigan this year, it's Penn State, Ohio State. Those are the most important things. And for Michigan, I think getting some type of points here, a touchdown would really quiet the crowd down.
Gabriel Wosu, the kickoff specialist for Penn State, set to boot it away to the awaiting freshman Samaj Morgan, who's been dangerous in his limited opportunities this season. He's flanked on the left side by Joe Taylor, another ace special teamer for the Wolverines. Stadium cranked up here at Beaver Stadium in Happy Valley. Around 100,000 in a small town tucked in the middle of the Commonwealth of Pennsylvania. In the ripples of the Appalachian Mountains, we're set to play football on Saturday, November 11th, 2023. Number 3, Michigan. Number 10, Penn State. Listen to this crowd. Wosu set to boot it away, and we are underway from Happy Valley. Samaj Morgan will let it trickle out of the back of the end zone, and the Wolverine offense led by J.J. McCarthy, a Heisman candidate, will take the field.
And this Penn State defense, by whatever metric you look at, is a top 5 defense in the country. Definitely the most formidable defense Michigan has faced. They play a 4-3, sometimes 4-2-5. We'll see what Sharon Moore cooks up on this first drive.
Michigan backed up towards the student section side, starting at the 25-yard line, left hash. Penn State's defensive unit first in the country in sacks. JJ in the pistol to start, 2 wide receivers right, 2 tight ends in the game. It's a straight handoff. Blake Corum working for maybe a yard. Most likely no gain on the first carry of the game for Corum. 2nd down and 10.
Penn State's run defense. James Franklin challenged them to get bigger after Michigan ran 400 yards.
Empty set for McCarthy on 2nd and 10. 2 wide receivers with 2 tight ends out there. Now Blake Corum motions into the shotgun. Left sidecar beside McCarthy. 3 receivers right for JJ. 5-man rush for Penn State. Rusher off the edge. JJ gets it away to A.J. Barner. 1st down. Good play from JJ to avoid the free rush on the right side and get that football away.
And we saw against Ohio State, Manny Diaz blitzed a lot, about 35-40% of the time. So if Penn State blitzes, I think Michigan will welcome that as we just saw.
Extra lineman in the game is Trente Jones wearing number 93. Now a off-balance look for Michigan. Maybe 7 offensive linemen out there. Blake Corum behind JJ. Straight give up the middle. Falls forward for about 4 yards to the 41 of Michigan. And on the last play, JJ evades a sack. A free rusher on the right side was Chop Robinson, making his presence known on the 2nd play of the game, working against right tackle Carson Barnhart, who's a good player in his own respect, but Robinson is so dangerous, even though he might be a little banged up coming into this game. Michigan facing a 2nd down and 6, 13:15 to go in the first quarter. 2 receivers left. Colston Loveland motions in tight left to the line of scrimmage. A 2nd tight end on the right. Running back in the backfield is Corum with McCarthy. Flag flies on 2nd and 6. Probably some movement by the Wolverines up front. They'll move back 5 yards.
And right away within the first 3 minutes, we see the effects of this Penn State crowd. It's really hard to hear.
And it's 52 Carson Barnhart, who I just called out, had some trouble with Chop Robinson on the first pass play for the Wolverines of the game, trying to get a little bit of an edge against the dangerous pass rusher, probable top 15 pick in the NFL draft, Chop Robinson. McCarthy motions all his receivers out on 2nd down and 11 from the Wolverine 37. Shotgun set for McCarthy. It's a give up the middle to Corum, who picks up maybe 4 of the penalty yards to the Wolverine 38. Donovan Edwards checks in, the receiving back. Corum goes to the sideline. It'll be 3rd down and 8, 12:20 remaining in the first quarter.
And this is where J.J. McCarthy has a chance to go above the play call. If it breaks down, let's see if J.J. uses his legs.
3 receivers left for McCarthy in the shotgun. 1 right, Edwards split to his right. Samaj Morgan, the explosive freshman in the game. J.J. makes a check at the line. We have Morgan working out of the short slot. Colston Loveland not too far away next to him in a kind of stack formation. McCarthy gets the snap. Drops back to throw. Pressure off the edge. McCarthy rolls left. Doesn't throw the ball away. And that's the first sack of the game for the Nittany Lions. Danny Dennis Sutton coming off the edge. This is a unit averaging 4+ sacks a game. Register the first one there. 4th down and 18. Michigan will have to punt.
And when Michigan has to go in 3rd and long, if you're the Penn State defense, that's obviously what you want.
Low punt, retrieved by Doman. End-over-end kick fielded at the 25-yard line by David Kensey Jr. Daquan Hardy, the cornerback, fielding that punt. And that's where the Penn State offense will start. Michigan, 1 first down on their first possession, has to punt it away.
And this Penn State offense versus this Michigan defense, I'm curious, and I think everybody's curious to see, how does Penn State move the ball down the field? Obviously, Michigan, one of the top defenses in the entire country. Penn State, Drew Aller especially, he likes those little short routes, 5 to 10 yards. We saw that against Ohio State. Michigan, I think, will be just fine with that because it really only takes one play for Penn State to get behind the sticks. And also, I think something to watch for is the interior of this Penn State line is its weak point on the line. And Michigan, you got really good future pros in Chris Jenkins,
Mason Graham, Kenny
Grant.
Yeah,
Mason Graham,
an embarrassment.
Cam Good. I mean, that interior of the line, I think, if Michigan's going to win this game, they have to wreak havoc.
And you talk about interiors of the defensive line. Penn State on the interior is stout. It's the #1 rush defense in the country. Michigan content to run 3 dive plays up the middle. Obviously, Corum's a great player, but not much of a change-up for Michigan on offense compared to what we normally see from them, running into the teeth of the Penn State defense. And, I mean, this is the identity of the Wolverines. It's, we know what you do, we're going to try and do it better. And in most cases they do, but we've seen Michigan against the best teams that they play over recent years. They do get stonewalled. You know, you can't be arrogant and say you're better than every single team you play up front. Sometimes you do have to switch it up and play into their weaknesses rather than play to your own strengths. We'll see what the Wolverines change on their next offensive drive. But, Coby, what are you looking for Penn State on offense? Do they start throwing the football, or are they going to run it early with Allen and Singleton?
Well, so what we've seen is James Franklin likes to say they play complementary football. I expect them to try to establish the run as Drew Aller. They just haven't had explosive plays. Drew Aller has had a lot of trouble throwing downfield. But against Maryland, he was really good, but he had a lot of time. This Michigan front is probably not going to give him much time here.
Penn State offense will take the field on 1st and 10 from their own 26-yard line after the punt from Tommy Doman. It'll be Singleton to the right of Aller in the gun. 2 wide receivers left. Looks like Cephas and Lambert Smith. Base nickel set for the Wolverines to start. And a play made in the backfield by Kenny Grant. He topples Nick Singleton. Gain of nothing on the play, but Grant was in the backfield in a hurry.
And Grant just shedding his block. Michigan clearly anticipated that. They had 5 on the run.
Yeah.
On the line. Penn State just ran right into it.
Yeah, excuse me, I said a base nickel set, but they had 5 down linemen. Keon Sabb comes into the game to replace Kenny Grant, now in the nickel. Junior Colson and Mike Barrett coming up to the line looking to blitz. Aller in the gun. 3 receivers left, throws left side. Incomplete, intended for Dante Cephas, the transfer from Kent State, who has not been what the Nittany Lions have hoped for. They've been missing an explosive playmaker in the passing game like they've had in recent years. It brings up a quick 3rd down and 9 for this Nittany Lions offense that goes empty. Junior Colson split out wide to guard Singleton. Empty set for Aller. Drops back to throw. Little pressure. Throws it over the middle. Pass intended for Lambert Smith. Covered well by Will Johnson. Falls harmlessly incomplete. And Penn State goes 3 and out on their first drive of the game.
This Penn State offense is not built to be in 3rd and long. And we saw it right there. Even if that pass gets completed, he gets tackled a few yards short. Great job of Michigan defense. I'm feeling we're probably going to see the punters on both teams be very active today.
Riley Thompson, the punter for the Nittany Lions, set to boot it away to Jake Thaw, who entered last week against Purdue after a muffed punt on a Tyler Morris-led return. We didn't see him the rest of the game in that position. It's been the more sure-handed Thaw. He takes a fair catch at the 30-yard line where Michigan will set up 1st down and 10 in between the hashes.
And for this Michigan offense, they that false start really hurt them. The difference between 2nd and 6 and 2nd and 11 is so big. And one thing I really want to see Sharon Moore. I really want to see some play action. You had 3 or 4 run plays on that first drive. Maybe the first play Penn State thinks you're going to run play action. Maybe you can get a chunk play.
And that first pass to A.J. Barner went for a first down. I was surprised we didn't see more of that from the Michigan offense, kind of content to just run the ball with Corum, like we've seen a lot this season. See if they change anything up. The running back group being talked to by their coach, Mike Hart, set away from the main offensive huddle. And I think it's the backups. You see Tavier Dunlap, Kalel Mullings, Leon Franklin. A lot of the guys who don't get a ton of carries, but have done work this season, especially Mullings. He's become one of Coach Jim Harbaugh's favorite players, a converted linebacker. He comes in short yardage situations. Edwards and Corum also in that huddle. So maybe Coach Mike Hart just telling them, you know, take what you can get on the ground. Don't try and break explosive plays. We want to keep this game short, in between the tackles, shorten the game a lot. But we'll see on this second drive. 10:23 to go in the first quarter, 0-0. Both these teams have exchanged punts. Michigan got the ball first. They will kick off at halftime. But a chance from their own 30-yard line to start something on offense. They couldn't get it done last drive.
And you mentioned the running backs. In this passing game especially, the running backs are going to be very important. Penn State's defensive line, their pass rush is really good. They have the highest sack rate in the entire nation, 12.5%. So if Donovan Edwards, Corum, if they can help in pass protection, chip someone, also maybe keeping Barner for some pass blocking snaps, I think that would really help.
And Michigan has almost exclusively run two tight end sets in the last few games. They bring in an extra lineman here, once again, Trente Jones. A.J. Barner out there along with Max Bredesen. Cornelius Johnson on the left side, the lone wide receiver. It's Blake Corum behind J.J. McCarthy in the pistol. First down and 10 from the 30. Once again, backed up into the Penn State student section that has now filled out, completely full Beaver Stadium here from State College, Pennsylvania. Sellout crowd for one of the biggest games of the year. Barner in motion from left to right. Two tight ends settle down on the left or the right side of the line of scrimmage. Bredesen motions inside. A trap play goes for nothing. Fumble on the play by Blake Corum. We'll check who picks it up. Nobody's signaling they have it, and it looks like the Michigan players think they do. Clock continues to run. Looked like the Wolverines fell on the football. We'll check the Jumbotron replay. Corum definitely lost that ball. Members of the offensive line came in to jump on it. In any case, it's second down and 10. Inside of 10 minutes to go in the first quarter. Two tight ends for Michigan. Loveland motions out to the right side slot. Shotgun set for McCarthy. Corum to his left, Roman Wilson. All the way towards the left side of the formation on the near side to us. Four-man rush from Penn State. J.J. settles in, drops a pass off to Colson Loveland, who breaks a tackle and is sat down at the 37.
And the run game just might not be there all day, but this Michigan passing offense is the most efficient passing offense in the entire country, led by J.J. McCarthy. Obviously, Colson Loveland is so important, and Penn State secondary is really good. But if you can get the tight ends and running backs involved, I think in matchup on linebackers, I think. Yeah.
Third down and 3 for Michigan. Again, two tight ends, bunch set to the left, close to the line of scrimmage. Penn State shows blitz. McCarthy, a couple fake claps. Nittany Lions only bring 4. Robinson in there, forces a throw from McCarthy, and it's batted down at the line of scrimmage. Another Penn State fourth down forced by the Nittany Lion defense. Robinson screaming off the right side against Carson Barnhart. He is making his presence known in this game. No time for McCarthy to throw. Second punt upcoming here from Tommy Doman on 4th and 3 from the Michigan 37.
And that matchup between Chop Robinson and Carson Barnhart is going to be key all game. So far, Chop Robinson has won for sure.
You have to think they're going to keep a tight end there to chip almost the whole game. Nearly a blocked punt, and they do throw a flag as the Nittany Lions ran into Tommy Doman. Whatever flag it is, the Michigan offense is going to stay on the field. Running into the kickers 5 yards and a first down. I think the referees are going to check to see if the punt was tipped before the Nittany Lion defender fell in. The ball was tipped. I think they're going to pick up this flag. Penn State's offense is going to take the field. We'll see where the football is spotted. Looks to be the 31-yard line of Penn State. Daquan Hardy, the Penn State returner, let that ball bounce. It took a Penn State bounce towards the Michigan end zone. It was down by Joe Taylor. I apologize for not covering that. I was looking to see if the punt was tipped or blocked and if Doman was run into, but Nittany Lions are going to have their second possession of the game after a 3-and-out, following a 3-and-out by the Michigan offense.
And this game, through three possessions, it looks like it's going to be a defensive battle. Both defensive lines have been fantastic so far in that last play. JJ made a not the best decision. That's a situation there where you'd much rather have a sack than a pick right there and have Penn State have a short field. So I think the turnovers for Michigan is going to be very costly, especially if both offenses are going to have trouble going the length of the field.
And it looked like Michigan was prepared to settle in on that first drive after they got their first down to Barner, but the false start on Carson Barnhart set them back to second down and 11. However, it looked like Michigan just lost the momentum they had, and on the series out this time, you just go 3-and-out because you don't feel comfortable. You have to get that first play on a drive to get it going. And Michigan has been kept uncomfortable by the Penn State defense, namely Chop Robinson, who so far has impacted the game. And we're only 6 and change into this.
Yeah, while when you pass, you do give Chop Robinson perhaps more of a chance impact the game, but the second down passing, their 2 completions are both on second down. So I think so they don't get into a third and long. I think passing on first down, I think Sherrone Moore should put that in the game plan possibly, because the third downs against this Penn State team, Penn State has won both of them.
Yeah, and you can't get in a third down and longer against a defense that can pin their ears back and rush 4 like the Nittany Lions have done, and they get pressure. The Wolverines' offensive line and pass protection has held up this season, but on the first drive of the game, they allow a sack. And partially that has to do with McCarthy not throwing the football away, which we have seen this season. He always wants to be a hero on offense, and that'll get you big plays, but that'll get you big losses too. Penn State to start out, second offensive possession from the 31. First down and 10 for the Nittany Lions. Aller in the gun with a running back split right. 2 wide receivers and a third split right for Aller. Fake clap. Makes a change at the line. Aller gets the snap. Handoff to Singleton up the left side is tackled. Kenny Grant in there once again. First play of the series. Grant not in the backfield, but tackles Singleton for no gain.
That's back-to-back drives. No gain on first down. If Penn State's going to be in second and long, third and long, it's going to be a long day.
Singleton stays in the game. We have yet to see Katron Allen so far, the other star running back for Penn State. Nick Singleton has gotten most of the carries this season. Less yards than Allen, though. Second down and 10, 8 minutes to go. Aller drops back to throw over the middle. He's got a man. It's his tight end, Tyler Warren, over the middle for a Penn State first down.
And
tackled at the 50-yard line. Penn State goes quick. They're at the left hash. Aller stays in the shotgun. fakes a snap. Michigan nearly jumps offside, pointing to the Penn State offensive line like they false started. No flag. Check out the line from Aller. 3 wide receivers. Far to the sidelines. Handoff up the middle to Singleton. He works forward for 5 yards. Tackled at the second level by Derek Moore and Kenny Grant. Both in there on the stop for Michigan.
And that 5-yard carry on first down, that is very important. 2nd and 5 or 2nd and 10, big difference.
2 wide receivers all the way towards the far sideline for Aller, who stays in the shotgun once again. There's a peach emoji sign displayed prominently on the Penn State sideline. 2nd down and 5. 6:50 to go in the first quarter. Handoff up the middle. Singleton once again, and he gets another big play of 6. And it's a big play in this game with how good these defenses are. A Penn State first down.
Penn State almost in field goal range. Something to watch is how does James Franklin handle these 4th down decisions? Is he more conservative as he usually is, or is he going to go for it more today?
And Alex Falcon, a capable kicker. Aller, 1st and 10 from the Michigan 39. Claps once, gets the snap, drops back to throw. Right side, Keandre Lambert-Smith. Defended well by Will Johnson, but they'll throw a flag and get him for pass interference. To me, that ball looked uncatchable out of bounds. But Penn State will have close to a first down by penalty here.
On that play, they just saw a little tug. He did not need to tug at all. That ball did not seem like it was going to be caught, but that little tug right in front of the sideline, right in front of the ref, they will call that.
Rare to see penalties in the defensive backfield for Michigan this season. The sophomore Will Johnson from Grosse Pointe South picks it up. And Penn State will have a first down and 10 from the Michigan 30. A full house backfield for Aller. First time we've seen a variation in the normal shotgun. 2 wide receivers, 1 on each side. Give up the middle to Singleton. Makes a cut. Breaks into the second level before he's tackled by Junior Colson and Makari Page. Not before he gets to the 24-yard line.
Penn State running game really starting to get going. Now they're in 2nd and short. That opens up so many plays.
And they weren't really getting much push against Ohio State, but it has been easy goings for them inside ever since those 2 Kenny Grant interior tackles. They've been moving the football efficiently. Pump fake from Aller. He steps up to run. Wide open room. Slides down at the 13-yard line. First down, Penn State, and they're knocking on being the first team with a goal-to-go situation against the Wolverines this season.
And Drew Aller sidesteps Jalen Errol.
Full house backfield once again for Penn State. 2 tight ends in the game, Theo Johnson and Tyler Warren. Singleton still behind Aller on 1st and 10 from the Michigan 13. 5 minutes to go in the first quarter. Singleton up the middle. Singleton's got room, gets past Keon Sabb all the way down to the 3-yard line. First down and goal, Penn State. The first goal-to-go situation allowed by Michigan this season. We're 10 weeks in. Michigan has yet to be in this spot. We'll see how they respond.
Yeah, for the Michigan defense, they need to hold them to a field goal. Let's see if they can get a goal line stand.
4.5 to go in the first quarter. Clock running from the 4-yard line. Aller in the shotgun. Singleton to his right. 3 wide receivers left. Tyler Warren, the tight end, tight to the right side of the line of scrimmage. Press coverage from the Wolverines. Outside, inside give to Singleton. Junior Colson in there and makes the stop at the 3. 2nd down and goal.
And the running game has worked the entire drive, but what happens when the defense is so condensed inside the 5-yard line? Once again, running into the interior. Let's see if Penn State sticks with the run or they try something different.
Excuse me, I thought Penn State had picked up the first down. It's 3rd down and 1 from the 4, so no goal-to-go situation just yet. 3rd down, Penn State going to the wishbone. They did this against Ohio State in short yardage situations. They do a kind of tush-push. Michigan, tight to the line of scrimmage. I think Aller got the first down. Referees are marking him just in front of the line to gain. See what the spot is on 3rd down and 1 from the 4. Clock stops at 3:27 to go in the first quarter. They're unearthing the football at the bottom of the pile. We're still waiting for the call. And we're going to have a measurement on this 3rd down and 1 tush push by Penn State. They come out in the wishbone, which is not an ancient formation, but it's about a 50-year-old formation. We saw Oklahoma run it in the 1970s. They don't run anything triple option-y out of it, but it is a mechanism for them for the quarterback sneak, which we've seen become the vogue offensive play call. And I think by the nose of the football, Penn State has the first down. So now, the first goal-to-go situation for a Michigan opponent this season. First down and goal from the 3, 3:27 to go, tie game 0-0. Number 10, Penn State at home, knocking on the door of the Michigan goal line for the first time this season by any opponent against the Wolverines. Big beef in the interior for Michigan. They're not short of that. Jenkins good, Graham, Grant, all in there. Penn State in the wishbone once again, but they motion Singleton out wide left. It's a give, left side. Nice tackle made by Mike Barrett on Katron Allen at the 3-yard line. Gain of nothing on 1st and goal.
It looked like Katron Allen had the edge, but just a really explosive play by Barrett.
So now we're seeing some misdirection on the wishbone set for Penn State. Throwback football down at the goal line for two teams that pride themselves on being physical. 2nd down and goal from the 3, clock running. Aller breaks the huddle, and the Penn State offense is back out in the wishbone. Now motion to a pistol set, 2 wide receivers left, 1 right. Allen in the backfield for the Nittany Lions. Play fake to him. Aller drifts back to throw. Pressure comes, has to throw it out of the back of the end zone. No flag for a hold. That's what the Penn State faithful want. But it'll be 3rd down and goal.
And now this play is probably the biggest play of the game so far. Now, if Penn State doesn't get it, will James Franklin kick the field goal, or will he go for it?
We'll have to see. 3rd down and 3, 2:27 to go. Clock stops. Tight end in the slot is Tyler Warren for Aller in the gun. It's Theo Johnson. Now moves tight to the right side of the line of scrimmage. Aller drops back to throw. Fade route to the end zone. Cephas! Defended well by Johnson. And incomplete, they call it, out of the back of the end zone. 4th down and 3, and the field goal unit is going to come on for the Penn State offense.
And this decision for the decision to go for the goal line fade, a fantastic play by Will Johnson. This Penn State receivers are not known for their contested catch ability.
And the fade route, one of the hardest plays to execute in football. Interesting that Penn State would go to that after being sold on the wishbone. Field goal by Felkins is up and good, and Penn State takes the lead 3-0. The 3rd time Michigan has trailed in a first quarter this season. The other 2 games, Rutgers and Indiana. I mentioned in the pregame, Michigan, after trailing, has not allowed a second score this season. They allowed a first quarter touchdown to Rutgers and Indiana. They finished with 7 for the game. So we will see how the Michigan defense responds, but more importantly, we have to see what the offense does. 2:17 to go in the first quarter. They have not done anything. Similar to what we saw in the game against Indiana, although that was a much lower regarded team than Penn State. Penn State did have trouble with Indiana, though, went down to the wire here in Happy Valley. But what do you want to see from the Michigan offense, having really done nothing so far in this first quarter?
Well, so it starts up front. We've seen on the pass plays, we've seen JJ under pressure twice already, both times on 3rd down. And when Michigan's run the ball, they just aren't getting much push up front. So it's and when your offensive line isn't getting much push, it just makes things a lot harder. I think in this game, J.J. McCarthy is going to be tested more than he has before. This is obviously the best defense Michigan has faced this season, but just down 3 points, I think Penn State may have done them a favor by going for the field goal instead of the touchdown, because I mean, even if Penn State missed, they would have been Michigan would have been operating on the 3-yard line, which I mean that's borderline impossible, especially against this Penn State defense. So this Michigan offense, it starts up front, and I want them to utilize the matchups, especially with Kalen King. We've seen Roman Wilson lined up across from him a few times today. Roman Wilson, Michigan's best receiver, but Kalen King, projected first-round pick at the start of the year, he just has not had the season he's expected. We saw it against Ohio State. He really struggled. Obviously, Roman Wilson is not Marvin Harrison Jr., but still a very capable receiver. So I want them to utilize the matchups and get more push up front.
But to go back to that play, Michigan, it was a 13-play drive, 66 yards for Penn State, resulting in a field goal. That's a big win for the Michigan defense, allowing a long drive like that. And, you know, it's been a recent indictment on James Franklin. Not a recent, really. It's been his entire career as a coach, not going for it. And this Penn State team hasn't won a big game against their Big Ten East opponents since 2016. I believe that was the last time they made the Big Ten championship when Trace McSorley was at quarterback. If not, then it was 2018, I think, if I'm mistaken. Penn State set to kick away up 3-0. Michigan needs to get something going on offense to respond. Near the end of the first quarter here at Beaver Stadium in Happy Valley, State College, Pennsylvania. First trip for me. It's been a lot of fun. First trip for you, Coby, as well. I know it has for you. But we love to see the Wolverines put a drive together on their third possession of the game. Kickoff by Wosu. Again, we'll go out of the back of the end zone. And the Michigan offense, limited to 2 punts on their last 2 possessions, will take the field once again.
It's a very, obviously every possession is important, but Michigan has the chance to take the lead on this possession. They can punch one in the end zone.
And JJ will have Donovan Edwards to start out behind him. Excuse me, they'll go to the gun, not the pistol. 3 receivers right, tight end Barner, tight to the right side of the line of scrimmage. McCarthy, straight drop to throw, now runs out right. Finds Cornelius Johnson on the right side, tiptoes out of bounds. First down, Michigan. That's the kind of play they need on first down.
Yeah, passing on first down, much easier than passing on third down. So a great play call there. Cornelius Johnson was wide open.
Gets the chains moving to the Michigan 38. JJ breaks the huddle, now settles into the pistol. Edwards behind him. Roman Wilson in motion from the left slot to the right side all the way to the end of the line of scrimmage. Edwards motions into the gun. It's a carry up the middle for Edwards, which he bounces outside left side, maybe gets a yard before he is tackled by Tyler Elsdon.
Yeah, this Penn State team does not miss many tackles. If this Michigan run game is going to succeed like it needs to, Corum and Edwards are going to have to break some tackles, which against this team's going to be tough.
A talented linebacker group for Penn State. They're comfortable running 4 guys out there off ball. Elsdon, Dennis Sutton, who has a sack, Abdul Carter, as well as Kobe King, the Cass Tech product out of Detroit, Michigan. Trente Jones, the 6th offensive lineman in the game once again. 2nd down and 9. McCarthy give up the middle to Edwards, and this time he lost a yard. Michigan's backed up to 3rd down and 10.
Yeah, and the run game just has not been there today, and now they're stuck in a 3rd and long. And now the Penn State defense, especially Chop Robinson, those defensive ends, can pin their ears back. This play will be a test for the offensive line.
They got a kind of NASCAR package out there. Chop Robinson's going to rush from the interior, deny Dennis Sutton, who has a sack on the right side. Pass catching personnel for the Wolverines out there. Wilson wide left, a bunch on the right side, tight to the line of scrimmage, including Samaj Morgan, who motions fake jet sweep. It's a run out for McCarthy. McCarthy out to the right sideline of midfield, picks up a 1st down. Oh, baby. Big explosive run from McCarthy. I don't think anyone was expecting that. Good blocking from the right side, and a big block from Carson Barnhart to spring McCarthy on the right side before he was escorted out of bounds by Zaki Wheatley. And Michigan over midfield for the first time in this game. That'll do it for the first quarter. Michigan will be down 3-0 on the other side of the break, but they will have the ball at the Penn State 49 after a huge third down carry from J.J. McCarthy.
What a play call. That was, we haven't seen J.J. use his legs really all season, or especially not on design runs. And right there, the first design run we've seen in a while, and just a beautiful play call lined up to the right side. The defense was so condensed, so they figured out there's room on the outside. Great blocking by the receivers especially. That doesn't work if guys like Samaj Morgan, who aren't very big, they block these great Penn State defenders. So just a tremendous play call and tremendous blocking.
Well, you mentioned Samaj Morgan being in the game. That was a huge tendency breaker. You mentioned the Wolverines do not run a lot of design quarterback runs. From what we've seen from Michigan this entire game, it's been they're playing to what Penn State knows they like to do, running the ball up the middle, short dump-offs to their tight ends and wide receivers on the sideline. And on 3rd down and 10, they must have been working on that in practice. It's something we haven't seen all year. A design sprint out to the right side for McCarthy. I didn't see any pass catchers in the pattern. I don't think that was an RPO. That was designed all the way for McCarthy to keep the ball up the sideline. And a picking the right word that is right to say on a broadcast, a gutsy call from Michigan on offense. And it pays off. 1st down and 10 from the Penn State 49, down 3-0, looking to respond after trailing for only the 3rd time this season. They did trail 2 separate times against Penn State last year. That pick 6, and I think they were down 17-16 at one point. Michigan eventually recovers, scores 25 unanswered to win that game 41-17 last season in the Big House. This is obviously a different environment, but we've seen Michigan put the hammer down after being faced with a little bit of adversity.
Yeah, but within that last drive, they faced the adversity and they responded to it very well. Back-to-back runs that didn't go anywhere that were more up the middle, but if the runs aren't working up the middle, then let's try the outside. They did it, and it worked. We really haven't seen many outside runs from this team this year. So yeah, you mentioned tendency breaker. That was certainly one play right there.
And for me, the outside runs are something that could be available. Jim Harbaugh has called A.J. Barner the best run-blocking tight end in the country. That's what you want, to run a stretch play outside. You have great tackles. Henderson's a big boy on the left side. Barnhart has shown to be a good run blocker as well. And they're not shy to throw Trente Jones as a 6th offensive lineman on the edge of the formation. So I'm not sure why Michigan hasn't attacked outside in the run game as much this season. They don't run power. It's a lot of zone scheme running. But it's obvious that it hasn't really worked up to this point. And it really, the dirty secret to Michigan football this season is that the run game hasn't been what we're used to seeing all year. You know, it might be couched as we're looking to be more balanced. That's what the coaching staff for Michigan might say. But it really hasn't been effective as we've seen in previous seasons. Now, Trente Jones is out there as the 6th lineman on the left side of the line of scrimmage. 2 tight ends, Bredesen and Barner. So really a jumbo set on 1st and 10 from the Penn State 49, now working to the near end zone closest to us towards Nittany Mountain, shadowing over Beaver Stadium. Bredesen motions in from left to right to an H-back on the line of scrimmage. Inside handoff to Donovan Edwards. He breaks right side, breaks a tackle. Edwards up the sideline, and he is tackled down near the 30, past it. Tackled by Colin Dinkins. Excuse me, that wasn't Colin, that was Kevin Winston Jr. Excuse me.
If that's going to be there, if the Wolverines are going to get into the 2nd level, I think Donovan Edwards was surprised he had that much space. Just tremendous blocking. The line sealed off the defenders.
And that's what Edwards gives you. He can break one. JJ settles into the pistol. First down and 10 from the Penn State 27. Bredesen in motion once again. Maybe the same play, and it is a give to Corum, who gains about 4 or 5. Now the Michigan running game is working. A little bit of deception, a little bit of motion, extra blockers where they need to be. And Michigan now at the 23, second down and 6.
Now the red zone offense is going to be so important. Which team's going to kick field goals? Which team is going to score touchdowns? That's what this is going to come down to.
Trente Jones retreats to the sidelines, replaced by Samaj Morgan, who will line up outside of Colston Loveland, who's in the left side slot. Roman Wilson all the way to the right. Now A.J. Barner motions left to right. Bunch set left side for McCarthy in the gun. Gets the snap. Screen pass set up for Samaj Morgan, who cannot get away from Deni Dennis Sutton, who sits him down for a loss. Back to the 26-yard line, 3rd down and 8 for Michigan. We've seen that screen be effective for the Wolverines, but Penn State keyed on it there. Another 3rd down and long. And to avoid kicking a field goal just to tie, maybe try and take the lead, Michigan's got to get a first down. Bunch set now on the right side for McCarthy. He's got Edwards to his left in the shotgun. Cornelius Johnson split wide left. Pressure shown by Penn State. Motion man outside is Roman Wilson. Another screen for Samaj Morgan. Gets a block. Morgan cuts upfield, breaks a tackle to the 10, down to the 5-yard line. Samaj Morgan, a trusted member of this offense as a true freshman. First and goal, Michigan at the 6.
Tremendous play call by Sharon Moore. The same thing just on the other side. Manny Diaz, the defensive coordinator for Penn State, brought the blitz, and JJ kind of sidearmed it to Samaj Morgan, and then Samaj Morgan did what Samaj Morgan does, make guys miss.
And you kick out Roman Wilson on the motion wide right. That probably tipped the Penn State defense off that it was a little bit different. Trente Jones comes back in. 7 offensive linemen on the field for Michigan. Strong eye set with Max Bredesen and Edwards for McCarthy. An offset pistol, more like it. Flag is thrown. Edwards works down to the 4-yard line before he's tackled. We'll check the penalty.
Before that play, Barner was lined up to the right side. There was no one on him. I think he was screaming at JJ that he was open. I mean, he would have walked in.
Illegal substitution on the defense. It'll be half the distance to the goal, and it'll be first down at the 3-yard line. Michigan trying to punch it in. Now they come out under center in the I formation. First time we've seen JJ under the center. Handoff inside to Corum, breaks a tackle into the end zone. Touchdown, Michigan. The Wolverines take the lead on their 3rd offensive drive of the game. 6-3 here in Happy Valley. Michigan responds big.
Blake Corum, 17th touchdown, the best goal line back in the nation. His strong legs can push the pile, propel him forward even when he stops moving. He just pile drive the Penn State defense, and what a response from Michigan in this hostile environment.
That's the response you're looking for from the number 3 team in the country that wants to be number 1. 11:56 to go in the second quarter. James Turner on for the extra point to make it 7-3. It's up and good. Michigan up by 4. Minutes into the second quarter, respond after a Penn State field goal drive. They were stuffed in a goal-to-go situation. Michigan advances it in a goal-to-go situation, scoring a touchdown, taking the lead here at Beaver Stadium in State College, Pennsylvania. We're in for a good one, folks, I think. Michigan not willing to back down without their head coach, an elevated Sharon Moore calling the plays from the sideline. These Wolverines aren't much to mess with.
Yeah, and Sharon Moore, 2 third downs where he just had a fantastic play call, the design run, then the screen to Samaj Morgan on the blitz. And the difference in the game right now is Penn State 1st and 3 field goal, Michigan State 1st and 3 touchdown. That's why Michigan's winning. And if James Franklin, he is not going to win this game with field goals. these defenses are so good.
When you get that close, you got to go for the touchdown.
Yeah. There's just you just don't know when the next time you're going to be that close is.
And that's what the detractors of James Franklin have said. You pay this guy close to $10 million a year to make that kind of a decision. That's a coaching decision that costs 4 points. You know, a lot of people say, what do head coaches really have their impact in a game-time situation? It's those moments. It's moments at the end of halves. Obviously, in the middle of games, you're not going to get much impact from head coaching decisions, but that's a big one. Michigan up 4 because of it. And maybe, you know, Penn State gets stuffed and Michigan's up 7, but a huge swing in this game that Michigan now takes the lead, only trailing for about 4 minutes of game time. In their previous 2 games against Rutgers and Indiana, they had trailed for upwards of 7 minutes. In the Indiana game, the Rutgers game, in the Indiana game, it was about 5:56 they trailed. So this Michigan team's up to the task. Even though a lot of people will say they haven't been tested, I think they've done everything you want them to do. You want this team to go to the national title? Well, they beat every team by 40 points. What else do you need them to do other than show up right now, right here, which they've done?
Yeah, and I think if they had been tested, that would be a little worrisome, considering the level of competition that they played. So,
but we've seen it from Georgia. They struggled with Kent State last year. The best teams in the game still struggle in those games. Georgia had to close one out against Auburn earlier this season.
Yeah.
You know, Ohio State struggled against Indiana for a half. Penn State almost lost to Indiana.
Yeah.
And what Michigan has done to not even be close with any of these teams is something spectacular. Tommy Doman's going to kick it away, kicking touchbacks around 72% of the time. His first boot of the game is away, out of the back of the end zone, let go by Nick Singleton. And Penn State will start their first offensive drive after their first offensive score at the 25.
And as this game goes on, Michigan, especially their defensive line, will their advantage over the Penn State offensive line will increase as they can sub in and out.
First down and 10 for Aller at his own 25. Down 4 points, looking to strike back. 3 receivers left. Now Tyler Warren, the tight end, moves into a split backfield. Handoff to Katron Allen, breaks a tackle, bursts into the second level, stops short, just shy of the first down to gain, but he works all the way up to the 34, gain of 9 for Allen.
And that play, Katron Allen, that's just him being a special running back.
He broke through the diving tackle of Braden McGregor before Will Johnson, as well as Rod Moore, almost everybody else on the defense got in there for a combined tackle to get him down. Second down and 1, 11:22 to go in the second quarter. Aller once again in the shotgun. 2 tight ends. It's Theo Johnson on the left, Tyler Warren on the right. 2 receivers right, with Allen in the backfield. Fake clap from Aller, now gets the snap. Quick throw right side, caught to Malik Mega, who is stopped just at the line of scrimmage. It'll be 3rd down and 2, maybe a little bit of a loss from Moore. Just a screen play blown up. Good tackle by the upperclassman safety. Empty set for Aller on 3rd down and 2. 2 tight ends still in the game, but they're split out wide. Katron Allen also wide right. Cephas all the way to the left. Now Warren motions in tight to the line of scrimmage. Quarterback draw for Aller, and I don't think he got there. He's short of the line of short of the line to gain. Tackled by the interior of the Michigan defensive line. It's 4th down and 1.
See what James Franklin does.
At your own 34, you already kicked a field goal before. He's going to send the punting unit out.
Yeah.
If James Franklin is anything, he's predictable. And Penn State fans, you can sense a little bit of anger. You don't want to go for it at your own 34 against this kind of defense, but it'll be the second punt for Riley Thompson. Jake Thaw back deep. He will boot it away. No fake, no flags. Thaw will field it at his own 17. Breaks a tackle, cuts up field, and gets down to about the 22-yard line. That's where the Wolverine offense will set up. Quick 3 and out forced by the Michigan defense after the offense put a touchdown on the board. 9:44 to go in the second quarter. Michigan will start at the 22.
And that drive is a perfect example why if Michigan avoids giving up the big plays, and Penn State really does not create many big plays, that even if you let up a 9-yard run on first down, it's not the end of the world. Live to fight another day, and this defense is good that a second one is no guarantee.
And a quarterback draw, Aller's a big guy. I mean, you look at he's 6'5", 242.
Yeah.
That's, Josh Allen sized. And that was the appeal of Aller when Penn State fans were calling him to replace Sean Clifford over the past few years. I don't think he was ready as a quarterback, maybe as a raw athlete. But you would expect a big guy to get through the line of scrimmage, but Michigan's interior is so stout. Chris Jenkins, Kenny Grant's made a few plays in this game already. You can't expect anything against a line like that. And now Penn State probably kicking themselves. Third down and short, they get stopped into a 4th down and short. 3rd down and goal from the 3, they get stuffed, choose to go for a field goal. And those inches are the difference in a big game like this. Inches mean everything in the game of football when two teams are so evenly matched.
And if James Franklin tries to play this Michigan defense straight up, 3 downs, if you don't get it, punt, it puts his team at it really hurts his team because this Michigan defense is so good that if you have a 4th and inches, 4th and goal of the 3, you're just not going to get that many chances, and just that's 2 decisions there. Or I think Penn State fans, if they were to lose this game, they might look back and say, what would have happened if we had gone for it.
Now, Michigan and Penn State have played consecutive seasons over the last 10 years. Since 2013, these two teams have played every year. Michigan has only lost this game 4 times. They've won it 6. This will be the 11th meeting since the Big Ten switched from leaders and legends. And Michigan has a winning record here in Happy Valley. They've only played since Penn State joined the Big Ten, so it's a rare time where Michigan never played Penn State before they joined the conference. They lead the all-time series 16-10. They lead it here at Happy Valley 7-6, 9-4 at Michigan Stadium. They won their last time out here in 2021, 21-17. WCBN got to cover that. Now we're back. 7-3, 9:44 to go in the second quarter. Michigan from their own 22. McCarthy in the shotgun after leading a touchdown drive. A touchdown from Blake Corum up the middle on 1st down and goal from the 3. Got Michigan into the end zone. Corum's in their split of McCarthy in the shotgun. McCarthy, design rollout, right side, caught by Cornelius Johnson on the sideline. Second time we've seen that play. Johnson has been living on those design rollouts, just sitting down as a target. Picks up a 1st down to the Michigan 33.
That roll was so effective. The play fake brings the entire defense to the far side of the field, and then JJ is a good enough athlete where he can make a good throw off bounds.
You're absolutely right, and JJ's so athletic he can outrun the Penn State pass rushers, so Michigan can kind of let them run free as JJ rolls out, put an extra blocker on the right side to make sure he's safely escorted to where he needs to throw. JJ on 1st down and 10, handoff up the middle to Blake Corum, who looked to have a little bit of daylight but was tripped down at the 36.
Yeah, just couldn't fit through that hole there. But these last 2 possessions, we've seen the holes open up a little bit more.
Ball spotted at the 35, 2nd down and 8. JJ in the pistol, still with Corum behind him. Loveland split wide right. 7 offensive linemen once again, as well as Barner tight to the left side of the line of scrimmage. Corum bounces outside, has room to run. 50, 40, one man to beat, 30. Oh, and he's escorted out of bounds at the 20. But big gain from Blake Corum, bouncing it to the left side, and Michigan is in danger of avalanching Penn State. Kevin Winston Jr. on the stop. Michigan knocking on the door of the red zone once again.
And we mentioned the outside runs right there. A tremendous bounce outside by Blake Corum, and the Penn State defense was so condensed that he had the entire field to run.
First down and 10 from the 21. McCarthy with Mullings, Kalel Mullings, the third string running back, next to him in the shotgun. Donovan Edwards in the slot left. Roman Wilson all the way wide right. J.J. McCarthy has to call a timeout. They couldn't get the calls at the line correct. They'll retreat back to the sidelines, where they'll still face a first down and 10 from the 21 with 7:41 to go in the second quarter. Michigan leads 7-3. Thank you for listening live on YouTube to WCBN FM Sports. First timeout on either side for these teams, and the noise finally getting to McCarthy as they're working into the Penn State student section and band, the rowdiest part of this stadium. The other side is home to many of the Michigan fans that are attending this game, which there is a fair number. Now, Coby, we saw that bounce outside by Corum. The outside running has been effective. We mentioned when they were getting stuffed on their first 2 drives inside, we both agreed. You got to start going outside. You have talented tackles, very talented running backs, obviously. We've seen one big gashing run from Edwards, a big gashing run from Corum. Now, this is a Penn State defense only allowing 60 rushing yards per game, and I'm pretty sure we're getting pretty close to that. Michigan is offensively. I think the prevailing sentiment before this game was that Michigan is going to run the ball. Maybe not as effectively as in recent years, but what else do you need to see them do on offense to put it in the end zone here and go up 2 big scores?
Well, so we've seen we've seen 2 passes to the tight ends. I think getting especially Donovan Edwards out of the backfield. You know, Penn State, these 2 outside runs, they're probably going to key in on the outside, try to set the edge a little bit more. Maybe you can sneak one of the backs past the line and get them matched up against a linebacker. Now, these Penn State linebackers are not your normal linebackers. They are extremely athletic, but that's why Michigan's got a guy like Donovan Edwards, who's so good in the pass catching role. You know, also we really haven't seen Michigan's completions to wide receivers have all been kind of screen-like, some out routes. They really haven't had the time where they're able to let the routes develop down the field, and I think that's certainly intentional by Penn State, but maybe by running the ball more, maybe some play action, maybe that opens some routes further down the field.
I want to shout out the Nittany Lion, who is at the 7-yard line, just face planted on a backflip, but he was doing the dance from the end of the movie Napoleon Dynamite, which is tough to pull off. Canned Heat by Jamiroquai playing over the speakers here at Beaver Stadium in central Pennsylvania. J.J. McCarthy still with Mullings to his right. First down and 10 from the 21 for Michigan. 7:41 to go in the second quarter. Edwards in the slot right. 1 wide receiver on each side for J.J. Edwards sprints all the way over to the left side of the slot. And McCarthy will take the snap. Now a sweep motion from Edwards, who gets the carry, breaks a tackle behind the line of scrimmage, but he is tackled finally at around the 23-yard line by number 23, Curtis Jacobs, another one of Penn State's star linebackers.
JJ had the option to keep the ball on that one. If he kept it, there was a lane, I think, for him to run. Now, second along in the red zone. This is going to be tough.
22-yard line, second down and 11. Just over 7 minutes to go in the first half. McCarthy in the pistol. Loveland, another jet motion. This time it leads to a play fake intended for Corum. A dump-off pass to Loveland. Again, nets nothing. Tackled by Kevin Winston Jr. And Michigan will face a 3rd down and long, this time in Penn State territory.
This Penn State pass rush has been so effective. Can the offensive line give JJ enough time on this 3rd down?
A lot of moving parts on the last 2 plays. We'll see if Michigan keeps it a little simpler on 3rd down and long. JJ probably won't have a lot of time to throw. A blitz being shown by Penn State. They've bluffed a few times, and obviously they have the talent to rush 4 straight up. McCarthy makes a check at the line. Beaver Stadium is deafening here on Veterans Day. Edwards motions inside, and McCarthy's going to have to call another timeout with the play clock running down. Penn State's crowd making their presence felt in this game. Second time on this series, specifically this series of downs, that Michigan has had to call a timeout due to the noise.
Yeah, and they are right in front of the student section, just deafening. I mean, we can hear it from here. It is, it clearly has affected the communication of Michigan, but this third down and 11, you know, obviously you would like to get a little closer field goal, but about a 39 yard from here, I think your first worry has to be get this first down.
And that's a makeable kick from James Turner, the graduate transfer from Louisville. He's been an efficient place kicker for the Wolverines this season. Obviously replacing the 3rd round pick by the San Francisco 49ers, Jake Moody, but he has played well. Michigan, though, on the other hand, hasn't really needed the long field goal game this season. They've been so efficient on offense. 47 touchdowns, now 48 in this game. Haven't kicked a lot of field goals this season. Obviously, in a position against a great team, a great defense like Penn State, you are liable to see more kicks than touchdowns just because teams aren't able to work down into the end zone. 6:14 to go in the second quarter after the second timeout called on this series of downs by Michigan. They're at the 22. A 3rd down and 11 after 2 jet motion plays. One actually ended up going to Donovan Edwards for a loss of 1. The other saw Colston Loveland come in, fake the jet, flare out right, and catch a pass in the flat before he was tackled down for no gain.
Yeah, and on this 3rd down, so you mentioned there was potentially a Penn State was showing blitz. I wonder if they show blitz again and maybe disguise it because we've seen Penn State rushing 4. They have been very successful. It's 11 yards to go. That's quite a lot, especially on in the red zone where the field is so condensed. If Penn State drops back 7, I think it's going to be really hard for Michigan to get the first down. So I would be surprised if they blitz here.
3rd down and 11. It is a spot where a defensive coordinator, especially one as highly esteemed as Manny Diaz, does have to choose. Are you going to send pressure or are you going to drop back in coverage? Both are equally likely here on 3rd down and long for the Michigan offense. Driving into the teeth of the Penn State student section in Happy Valley. Edwards to the right of McCarthy in the gun. Now motions forward. No, he'll stay with McCarthy in the sidecar. Usually you see some running backs go close to the line of scrimmage. In pass protection, Barner goes tight to the line of scrimmage. It's just a straight give up the middle to Edwards. Breaks the tackle. Edwards inside the 10-5. Touchdown, Michigan. Oh, my goodness. Donovan Edwards breaks a tackle, goes to the right side, and Michigan up 13-3. Another play on 3rd down. Nobody expected to happen.
This crowd is stunned. I mean, Donovan Edwards, he made it to the second level, broke 2 tackles. That is Donovan Edwards. We were waiting for him all season to kind of show us that burst that we've seen the last 2 seasons, and right there in one of the biggest moments of the season comes up huge.
Point after by James Turner to make it 14-3. is up and through the uprights, and Michigan, after going down 3-0, scores 14 unanswered in just over 10 minutes of game time since Penn State had scored their field goal. And we saw that Michigan on 3rd down and 10 on a previous series ran that quarterback jet right that McCarthy took for a first down on 3rd down and 10. A 3rd down and 10, knocking on the door of the red zone. It looked like the Wolverines were just trying to play it safe and go up the middle with Edwards on a shortened draw play just to gain a bit more for the field goal. Edwards, though, as talented as he is, breaks a tackle, jets to the end zone. Michigan up 14-3 here in Happy Valley. And Coby, like you mentioned, these fans are much quieter than they were a minute ago.
Absolutely, and 14th, I mean, that's certainly an advantage for Michigan going forward. It's a lot harder to bring the energy down 11.
Yeah. Touchback by Tommy Doman on the kickoff, and Penn State's going to start at the 25.
Penn State offense, a 3rd and out here would be very crushing. They need to put together a drive for sure.
Aller in the gun, 2 wide receivers stacked far to the right sideline, and 1 to the left. It's a delayed counter to Kaytron Allen, has some room to run. 1 man to beat is Rod Moore. He gets past him. Kenny Grant, big Kenny Grant, tracking Kaytron Allen down at the 41. What an effort play by Kenneth Grant, the interior defensive lineman, to run down a fast running back in Kaytron Allen. It's a big gashing counter run for the Nittany Lions. They're set up in Michigan territory, but Grant saved a touchdown.
And I believe that might have been Kaytron Allen's longest run of the entire season. We just haven't seen that.
And checking a penalty, Grant didn't really get him down by the nameplate or the pad for a horse collar. On 1st down and 10 from the Wolverine 41, big answer for Penn State. They're in the full house set. We've seen it a few times in this game. Aller, right side Allen, patient at the line of scrimmage, tackled by Ernest Hausman at the 38-yard line. Call it 2nd down for the Nittany Lions. 5:02 to go, clock running. 2nd down and 6 for Penn State. 2nd string defensive line in for Michigan. Hausman in at linebacker, replacing Mike Barrett. Michigan having the luxury of being able to replace almost everybody on this defense. They're so deep. Aller on 2nd and 6. Tight end in motion now into a split backfield. Theo Johnson. Handoff left side. Kaytron Allen dives forward to about the 36, and it'll set up a 3rd down and 5 for Penn State. 4:30 to go. Barrett and Moore out there for Hausman and Johnston, respectively. Quentin Johnson. Aller goes empty on 3rd down and 5. Nittany Lions have had trouble on 3rd down all day. Allen will motion into the backfield to the left side of Aller in the shotgun. Theo Johnson to the left at tight end. Inside give to Allen, and he is swallowed whole by Rashawn Benny and this Michigan defense. Penn State fans don't like the play call. It's a 4th down and 6, tackle of 1 by Rashawn Benny.
And Penn State really has no choice but to go for it here. Too far for field goal, but the interior of the defensive line, even when you said the backups are in, they're just so good.
Penn State's going to go for it here on 4th down and 6, maybe try and draw the Wolverines off sides. Michigan kind of caught off guard. Motion man is Cephas from right to left. I think it is going to be a fake snap. We'll see if Aller does get the football. Cephas in motion again from left to right. Play clock running down. And Penn State is going to call, I think, a timeout. They won't take the delay of game. And Michigan trying to rouse their fans as they make a huge stop. Rashawn Benny, a backup interior defensive lineman, on 3rd down and 5, stuffs Kaytron Allen in the backfield. And again, Penn State really unable to get chains of plays going. It's been one big play, but then when it comes down to it, they haven't been able to just consistently gain yards against this Michigan defense.
Yeah, and this Michigan defense is so good that they don't need to bring more guys up on the line. This front four is so good. So the Penn State passing game, it's really been like one passing play.
3:22 to go in the second quarter. Penn State is going to go for it after the timeout they called. 4th down and 6 from the Michigan 37. Penn State down 11 points at home. 2 wide receivers left, 1 right. Running back to the right of Aller is Singleton. Aller drops back to throw. Left side, caught. Big catch made by Caden Saunders on the left side down to the Michigan 24. Just an out route, working in coverage against Mike Sainer, still makes the grab. Inside carry after no huddle by the Penn State offense. Singleton just working patiently, standing behind his own offensive lineman, gets to about the 21 before he's tackled.
And that 4th down, these Penn State receivers are going to have to win one-on-one. Saunders beat Mike Sainer still. If Penn State wants to win, that's what they have to do.
Another interior defensive line change for Michigan. It's Cam Good and Mason Graham out there. 2nd down and 6. 2.5 minutes to go in the half. 20-yard line for Penn State in the red zone once again. 2 wide receivers stacked right. 1 wide receiver left. Allen back in the backfield for the Nittany Lions. He gets the inside give, and he's swallowed up. Braden McGregor in there. Graham, Good, and any other Wolverine you can name in on the stop.
And when you have so many different guys in the middle up front, not only does it benefit you now, but in the 3rd and 4th quarter, those guys will be fresh.
3rd down and 5. Inside of 2 minutes to go in the half. Aller in the empty set. 3 receivers to his left, 2 right. One of them is Theo Johnson, the tight end. The other, all the way to the right side of the line of scrimmage, is the running back, Katron Allen. Aller drops back to throw. Pressure arriving, steps up. Aller room to run, and he's tackled by the shoestrings by Mason Graham, the sophomore, short of the 1st down.
This is another decision for James Franklin. Looks like he's going to go for it.
Franklin going to go for it once again. 4th down and 1. Inside of 90 seconds in the first half. Penn State down 14-3. Mason Graham tackles Aller by the shoestrings as Penn State breaks the huddle in the full house set. Aller taking the snap, 5 yards behind the line of scrimmage. A wide receiver left, 1 right. Michigan stacks the line of scrimmage, and a timeout will be called by Penn State and James Franklin. Their 2nd timeout of the half. With 1:07 left in the first half, does the clock stop? Huge series for Michigan to maintain their 2-score lead.
And so we've got 1 minute and 7 seconds left on the clock. Plenty of time. Penn State has the entire playbook at their display. But I wonder the strategy for both teams on this 4th down and 1, because there's still 15 yards to the end zone. Does Penn State take a chance and maybe go for the end zone here, maybe catching Michigan just trying to stop this 1 yard?
And those 4th down and 1 plays that end up as touchdowns are backbreakers for opposing defenses. But Penn State going to go to the wishbone. We saw it down at the goal line, and Michigan did a good job in stuffing it. But the tush push is available in this set. Now Penn State motions out to a traditional single back formation. Aller, toss play right side. Allen, he's going to throw. Back to Aller, will pick up the 1st down to the 11. Drew Aller on the reception, but a big play not allowed. I think Allen was really looking for Theo Johnson, the tight end, working across left to right. Couldn't find him. Aller available on the throwback. Penn State, a little bit of trickeration on 4th down and 1. Clock inside a minute now.
Despite getting the 1st down, Michigan will live with that. They defended it very well.
A wobbly spiral from Allen gets the job done on 4th down and 1. Split backfield for Drew Aller. Allen to his right, who's gotten a significant amount of playing time in this first half. Trey Potts motions to the slot left. Quarterback draw for Aller. Nobody up the middle. Daylight into the end zone. Touchdown, Penn State. Drew Aller on the draw. Penn State 9, Michigan 14 with 29 seconds to go in the first half.
The QB draw, we saw that against Ohio State. It worked very well. It worked very well for them. Drew Aller, not the fastest guy, but he made it happen there.
And the Nittany Lions are going to go for 2. James Franklin looks like he's done with settling. They want to go for 2 to pull within 3 and make it a field goal game, which is a huge deal. These two teams, neither of them have allowed a point in the third quarter. We're about to get to halftime. Katron Allen behind Aller, a single back set, tight end right, wide receiver left, one right. 2 tight ends for Penn State in the game on the right side. Cephas motions in to the right. Allen, play fake from Aller. Aller, nobody to throw to, back of the end zone for his favorite receiver this season, Keandre Lambert-Smith, is incomplete, and it's 9-14. Michigan leads Penn State after the QB draw touchdown from Aller.
And Michigan read that play very well. Will Johnson one-on-one with Keandre Lambert-Smith. And these Penn State receivers, we said they had to win one-on-one battles. Right there, they did not.
They really haven't yet today. Caden Saunders didn't win one against Mike Sainristil on that 4th down play. That was huge for Penn State to get the touchdown. They missed the 2-point conversion. It's 14-9. Samaj Morgan, I assume, will either let this kickoff go out of the back of the end zone and Michigan will come out and knee this ball to halftime. I don't think with 29 seconds left you want to risk too much, but we'll have to see. Another kickoff from Wosu. Each of his kicks so far have been touchbacks. Michigan, though, worried about a squib or an onside. They got the hands team out there, Joe Taylor up front, but Morgan will take the football. A fair catch from Morgan at the goal line will move the football to the 25-yard line. 29 seconds to go. Michigan usually doesn't go to halftime without a fight, but they do have 1 timeout left. They used 2 on a series down by the goal line, in the red zone, their last drive out. Last week against Purdue, they did attempt before half to score. I just don't know if there's enough time here. 2 receivers right for McCarthy. The back is split left in the shotgun. It's just a give up the middle to Corum, who works up to the 29 before he's tackled, and I think that'll do it for the first half. Michigan has to be satisfied with their performance. Big plays made in this game to have them be up 14-9. Some defensive miscues allowed Penn State to get on the board after their initial field goal, but the Wolverines need to be pleased. Without their head coach, scoring 14 points against a defense who really is incredible, one of the best defenses in the country, running the ball effectively, big chunk plays, maybe not the passing game where you'd like to see it, but Michigan big moments in this game to be up 14-9.
Yeah, absolutely. And up 5 on the road. Now Penn State does receive the second half kick. So obviously that first drive is going to be but they kept themselves in this game, going down 3-0. Looked like really they didn't have much on offense, but the offensive line really turned a corner. They changed up their play calling. They ran to the outside, and we're kind of using the aggressiveness of the Penn State pass rushers against them. So let's see what halftime's like without Harbaugh. I think Shomore will be just fine. They've fared very well today.
And you mentioned, Coby, that Penn State will receive the kickoff out of halftime. Coaches around this sport talk about winning the middle 8 in terms of winning football games. It's huge. The middle 8 being the last 4 minutes of the first half, the first 4 minutes of the second. Penn State on the last drive of the second half, that meant anything, scores a touchdown. They will get the ball at halftime, so we'll see how the Michigan defense responds. 5 times this season in 9 games, the Michigan defense has gotten off the field without allowing their opponent to get a first down on their first drive out of the second half. And they're the entire Jim Harbaugh era, the adjustments out of the locker room by the Michigan defense have always been incredible. We'll see what happens without Jim Harbaugh. But for Coby Segal, I've been William Gregory. Thank you for joining us. We had a wonderful first half call here from Beaver Stadium in State College, Pennsylvania. Michigan 14, Penn State 9. We will welcome in our second half crew, Neal Sinha and Owen Klein, after the halftime performance in about 15 minutes or so. So stay with us. We'll be back after halftime.
Presenting the Broadway hit show. We will step into the fifth film of our first musical, Once Upon a Nittany Lions. This pop princess hottest song to become the soundtrack Ferguson. Assistant Director is Mr. Robert Hickey. Ask your mom if she thinks that your dad's mom did a good job.
From Saturday Night Live and his multiple Netflix specials, Emmy Award-winning comedian John Mulaney brings his brand new show, John Mulaney in Concert. Bryce Jordan Center, December 3rd. Get tickets now at Ticketmaster.com.
Welcome to all group ticket buyers for today's game to the Beaver Stadium. For information on group discounts and special experiences for your group of family, friends, co-workers, or employees, call 1-800-NITNY. At this time, we recognize our Penn State student athletes for their dedication and commitment to academic excellence. Last spring, 28 varsity teams, as well as the cheer and dance squad and the Blue Band, earned a team GPA of 3.0 or higher. Joining us on the field today are over 300 student athletes representing the 571 who earned a 3.0 GPA or higher in the spring 2023 semester, and their academic highlights are on the video board. Congratulating them for their academic performance are Morgan Academic Center staff, faculty, partners, and sport administrators. Please join us in giving these outstanding student athletes a round of applause for their spring 2023 academic achievement. The Penn State Spiel College of Business is proud to be the official game sponsor of Penn State football and a lifelong partner at all stages of your career. Check out our website at spiel.psu.edu or follow us on social media.
Hello and welcome to Happy Valley in State College, Pennsylvania, and Beaver Stadium for a top 10 showdown between number 3, Michigan, and number 10, the Penn State Nittany Lions. Our score is 14-9 here at halftime. You're listening to WCBN Sports on YouTube. My name is Neal Sinha. I'll be your play-by-play commentator for the second half, and alongside me, our color analyst is Owen Klein. Owen, a little bit of a weird start to this game, a slow start somewhat in terms of the scoring department, where Penn State got this one started with a field goal, ending with 2 minutes and 17 seconds left in the first quarter. Michigan then followed it up with a touchdown early on in the second quarter, a 9-play, 75-yard drive. They then, on their very next possession, had a 6-play, 78-yard drive with another touchdown, and Penn State got their first touchdown of the day with 30 seconds left in at the end of the first half there to make this a 14-9 game with the missed 2-point conversion. Owen, are you a little bit surprised, I guess, with how this game has gone? Penn State with a great response from Michigan there.
Honestly, not at all. Michigan, like you said, started slow. The opening 2 drives, both were punts. The run game was not going at all. Corum was stifled on those runs up the middle. But as the half progressed, Michigan kind of broke out of their shell. Blake Corum ripped off a big run. Donovan Edwards ripped off a big run. We talked about it in the pregame, Neal. We talked about all the surrounding noise around the program currently. I think Michigan has come out here and they've rebounded and responded in a way that's very tough in an environment like Happy Valley. This is an extremely hostile environment. The fans are loud. There's a lot of fans, over 100,000 here. But Michigan came out, again, slower start, but as the half progressed, they picked it up, and that's why they're up 14-9.
And how about Donovan Edwards? I mean, he came into this game averaging 26 yards per game. Gets on the board with a big touchdown there on a 3rd and 11 for Michigan around the, 20-yard line or something, and came up with a huge play to get Michigan on the board early. He has 5 carries for 43 yards. Has he looked somewhat different, or maybe is it a little bit better blocking from the offensive line?
I mean, it's really been the big 2 runs, right? He had the 22-yard gain to get Michigan going on their 3rd drive, and then he had the touchdown from about 11 yards out. Michigan fans know good and well that this has not been the year Donovan Edwards wanted, nor has it been the year that Michigan fans expected of him. Only his 3rd rushing touchdown, but he's gotten better slowly. And this is a great game for Donovan Edwards to have big splash plays like this. He's been a huge part of why Michigan has this lead right now.
Most definitely. And, of course, the big thing to note today is that Jim Harbaugh, the head coach of this Michigan football team, is not in action today, not on the sidelines, not even allowed here in Beaver Stadium at all, after Big Ten Commissioner Tony Petitti suspended him for the rest of the regular season. It remains to be seen if that will also count for the Big Ten championship game should Michigan get there. Nonetheless, Sharon Moore, the offensive coordinator for the Wolverines, is the acting head coach today. He was asked before the game by Fox Sports reporter Jenny Taft if Jim could even come back on the sidelines if that were to be reversed at halftime. And you know what he actually said, Owen?
What did he say?
He said he could.
Wow.
Which is absolutely crazy to think about, that a head coach could just walk into the stadium at halftime and start coaching these guys. That will not be happening, though. Sharon Moore is the head coach for the rest of this game. Again, our score is 14-9. We have about 3 minutes to go before we get back in action here in the second half. But on the Penn State side, Owen, just 31 yards passing. I mean, that cannot get the job done for Drew Aller and the Nittany Lion offense. He's only had 7 attempts, though.
Only 7 attempts, and we kind of knew this coming in, that Penn State's offense was maybe lacking compared to their defense, compared to how they are overall as a team. But give credit to Michigan's defense. They've come out here and they put on a show. I really want to shout out this defensive line. Kenny Grant, Mason Graham, both made touchdown-saving plays, really, late in the second quarter. This Michigan defense has been locked in. Drew Aller has had a tough go. He had a nice run to score a touchdown. But really, other than that one long, sustained drive, Michigan's defense has played very, very well.
Yeah, possibly one of the few great passing plays for Penn State was on the 4th and 1 that they had near Michigan's red zone, where Katron Allen was actually the passer, and he completed a 4-yard pass to Drew Aller for the first down. I mean, a little bit of a surprise, little shocking play from James Franklin. Nonetheless, Penn State was able to convert and eventually go down the field and get a touchdown. Oh, and with 2 minutes left here before the second half is underway, the Nittany Lions will get the ball first. What are you on the lookout for this Penn State offense? How do they get back into this game and possibly take the lead?
I think most of their damage has been done on the ground so far. And if they can really establish a consistent running game, I think that gives them a chance in this game. You can go for big splash plays through the air, but I think that's a bit more risky with this Michigan secondary. Again, the Michigan defense all around is great. But Penn State has had some success on the ground with Singleton so far. I would look to go there. But just consistency, no backwards plays, a lack of penalties. With Penn State did a great job of it in the first half. They need to continue that trend if they want a chance at winning this game.
Yeah, it's a great point. Katron Allen really didn't have that many carries in the first quarter. Came in a lot in the second, though, taking over the running duties for Nick Singleton. Had 7 carries for 48 yards. On the other side for Michigan, Blake Corum, we already mentioned Donovan Edwards, but Blake Corum has 9 carries for 64 yards and a touchdown, a 44-yard long run. J.J. McCarthy with only 60 yards in the passing game, but just 1 completion. He's only had 8 attempts over there. Do you think Michigan changes it up at all on the offensive end?
I don't, and I don't think they should. Corum, again, William Gregory, our play-by-play for the first half, talked about it. He put it very nicely. When Corum early in the game was struggling to get going, those were all the same concept runs, up-the-middle runs. But you bring in that extra tackle at the end of the line, and you get Corum in space to the outside, then you had the 44-yard gain. So I think caliber quarterback when you have to. Michigan's in a great spot here. Penn State gets the ball first, correct, to start the second half?
Yep.
So we'll see how the defense responds, but given all the off-field drama, and we don't want to focus on all that, we want to focus here on the game, but given the off-field drama, Michigan has made it seem like it's not even affecting them. They move as a collective conscience. I talked about this on our daily sports report, and I'm excited to see this second half. It's going to be a pleasure to call with you, Neal.
It certainly should be an exciting one, no doubt about it, as we get ready for the second half here. 14-9 in favor of the number 3 ranked team in the country, the Michigan Wolverines, over the Penn State Nittany Lions, sitting at number 10 in the college football rankings. We are back in action. Tommy Doman gets the football set at the 35-yard line, and we'll get ready to kick this one away to get the second half underway. The fans have been fantastic. A striped out crowd here in navy blue and white. And Tommy Doman makes the run up and kicks it away. Off we are in the second half here in Happy Valley. And it'll be a touchback to start it off for Penn State from their own 25.
Big drive here for Penn State, down 14-9, obviously ending the first half on a positive note. But they need to continue that here if they want a chance at winning this game. This is a huge drive that will set the tones for both teams to start this second half.
Certainly will. And we'll see what happens with Drew Aller here. If they try to open up the playbook a little bit, that's certainly been a hot topic for James Franklin and this Penn State coaching staff led by Mike Yursich, the offensive coordinator. And here we go, full house offense here for Penn State. Two tight ends in the formation, Theo Johnson and Tyler Warren right next to Drew Aller. Nick Singleton behind. It'll be a handoff to Singleton, right up the left. Singleton right by the left hash mark, 5-yard pickup, and we'll have a 2nd and 5.
Singleton got past that first level of Michigan defense, but Makari Page came flying in there to make a stop. Good start for Penn State, gain of 6.
Yeah, Nick Singleton averaging 4 yards per carry on the season. Been a very consistent player for this team. I don't think necessarily has had the season that they expected after a great year last year. He was over 1,000 yards. This time lined up to the left hip of Drew Aller. Trips right for Penn State. Aller in the gun. Claps his hands, then checks the sideline. Michigan showing a 5-6-man blitz. They'll hand it off to Singleton again. Up the left middle, and he just gets stuffed, does Nick Singleton. No gain.
When you got to switch it up, right? On second and medium, it's during the shotgun. You run the ball. Michigan's ready for that same defensive formation that time with 5 on the line. And already third and medium here for Penn State. Seems like a must-get first down.
Here we go. Empty set for the Lions. 3rd and 5. Drew Aller in the gun alone. 3 receivers off to the right, including the 2 tight ends, Tyler Warren and Theo Johnson. Off to the left, his favorite receiver, Keandre Lambert-Smith. Aller checks the play at the line. Standing alone in the backfield, takes a snap, drops back. Aller looking. He's going to take off up the middle. Aller reaches and gets the first down up to almost near the 40-yard line. It'll be a first down for Penn State.
Great job from Drew Aller. The offensive line did a great job of protection. Drew Aller went from read to read to read. Saw he had nothing, saw there was a gap to run in. He got the first down. Good play there by the quarterback.
13:20 to go here in the 3rd quarter. Michigan bringing on Keon Sabb for nickelback Mike Sainristil. 1st and 10 for the Nittany Lions at their own 38. Aller in the gun with Singleton off his right hip. It's Dante Cephas off, spread off to the left. Jalen Warren getting ready to rush off the right edge for Michigan. Lambert-Smith alone off the right. He gets motioned in near the offensive line for Penn State. They'll fake the handoff. Aller will drop back, looking, finds Singleton in the flat, and he gets dragged down by Makari Page after breaking a tackle from Josh Wallace. A pickup of about 3, 4, maybe even 5 yards there.
Yeah, good adjustment there by Aller to dump it off in the flat, but Michigan's defense was there.
Wolverines being on a ton of substitutions here, one of which being Rayshawn Benny, number 26, a defensive tackle. Again, a full house formation for Penn State. 2 tight ends right next to Drew Aller with Singleton behind. It's a formation that they've gone to a lot so far this season, especially against Ohio State earlier. Aller claps his hands it off to Singleton. Up the middle, and he gets dragged down after a gain of about 2 yards, and so that'll make it 3rd and 2 at the 46.
Another 3rd down here for Penn State. Michigan is not making it easy for them.
Quick set for the Lions. Empty formation once again. Trips right. Drew Aller in the gun. And they'll check the signals just as they've been doing all game. Nick Singleton off all the way on the left sideline here. Aller sends Warren in motion. Takes a snap. It'll be a QB draw right up the middle. Aller's going to get the first down. Then ball's out. Ball is out. Michigan jumps on it. Oh, my goodness. It's Makari Page. Was in the right spot at the right time. Drew Aller had the first down and didn't go down. Was stripped possibly by Kenny Page, or Kenny Grant, I should say.
You know, I don't know if anyone stripped that ball. Might have been Rayshawn Benny, the big defensive tackle.
Looks like it was Rayshawn Benny for the Wolverines.
For Aller, right? And then Benny from the back punching that ball out. Again, Michigan's defensive tackles have been so good today. Rayshawn Benny making a huge play there. Michigan takes over in plus territory.
And I was just going to say, Penn State's done a fantastic job all season holding on to the ball. They're plus 16 in the turnover margin. Drew Aller, though, a horrible fumble right there in their own territory. They were going to convert, Owen. They were going to convert, and Rayshon Benny able to kind of rip off the left arm of Drew Aller that was holding the football, and Makari Page picks it up quickly for the Wolverines. And you got to feel like in a tight game like that, it's those types of plays that put teams out of games. And now Michigan will have the opportunity to go down the field, a shortened field here, to get up by 2 possessions again.
I mean, that's just a play you can't afford to have. And I am curious, I would love to see a replay to see how much Benny affected that ball. From up here, it looked like it might have just slipped out of Aller's hands, but looking at the replay, Benny seems to have gotten a hand in there. That's what the great teams do, right? I mean, they take every little opportunity to try to make something happen. And Michigan just, frankly, they haven't made any mistakes today so far. They're up 5 in plus territory in a hostile road environment against a rival interconference matchup without their head coach. I mean, this kind of resilience is what you see from an elite college football team. And in my opinion, the best Michigan team we've had this century. And they're continuing the trend here today. Again, this season is far from over, but you can't sit here and not be impressed with how Michigan has come out in this environment given the circumstances, Neal.
It certainly does feel like, you know, Jim Harbaugh's team's last 3 years have just gotten progressively better, Owen, haven't they? I mean, 2021, they finally break through and beat Ohio State, eventually go win the Big Ten championship and get absolutely clobbered by Georgia in the Orange Bowl. They followed that up by beating OSU on the road, winning another Big Ten championship, and then almost beating TCU in the Fiesta Bowl. It seems like this team might be the one, though.
It definitely seems like it, and, you know, knock on wood, all that stuff, but Michigan looks really good as they take the field. It's a very important drive here ahead of them.
And so here we go for the Wolverines, a shortened field already in Penn State territory at the 49. McCarthy in the gun. 3 receivers off to the left and trips left. Max Bredesen in the slot. Roman Wilson in between Cornelius Johnson and number 44, Bredesen. Blake Corum off the right hip of J.J. McCarthy. They now send 3 players in motion. Bredesen comes off to the right hip of McCarthy. J.J. takes a snap, hands it off. Corum zone run off to the right, and he'll pick up just about a yard or 2 before being dragged down by Abdul Carter.
Typical zone run there for Michigan out of the shotgun. Corum being patient, picking up about 2. I mean, it's how Michigan plays their football. It might be boring to some, but that's how they get it done as Khalil Mullings checks in.
Yeah, 2 running back personnel for Michigan here. Khalil Mullings in the backfield next to McCarthy. Donovan Edwards in the slot off to the right. Roman Wilson alone off to the left. They send Edwards in motion. It's a jet sweep. They hand it off to him. Or excuse me, actually it's McCarthy running up the middle, and he gets about 6 yards. That'll make it 3rd and 2 for Michigan at the 41 of Penn State.
Yeah, I was fooled too, Neal. I totally thought Donovan Edwards had that ball, and I love the creative play calling there. People often forget JJ is a weapon with his legs, shows why there.
He definitely is. Hasn't gotten the ball on the ground that much this season. 226 positive yards, 137 net total for McCarthy this season. Nonetheless, big 3rd down here at the 41. They're not in field goal range just yet. McCarthy in the pistol set. Takes the snap, hands it off. Corum up the middle. Blake Corum keeps the legs churning. 1st down for Michigan. Just enough to move the chains for the Wolverines at the 38.
Very close, but very clear. That's a 1st down for Blake Corum, falling forward, doing everything you want out of your starting running back. Offensive line knew their assignments. I love the fact that they're bringing in Tronte Jones as an extra offensive lineman to provide some extra push, and Michigan moves the chains. And they continue to milk this clock. Their style of football is so difficult for an opposing defense.
Under 10 minutes to go in the 3rd quarter. 14-9 is still the score in favor of the Michigan Wolverines. They'll hand it off again. Blake Corum, zone run off to the right. Reaches forward for about a yard or 2. It'll be 2nd and 8 for Michigan.
I will say it's early in the 2nd half, but Penn State's defense has done a nice job containing the run game. The exception of that creative J.J. McCarthy run. Did a nice job of bottling up Corum here so far.
And Owen, it seemed like on every big play in this game for Michigan, they've had a little bit of a creative play call by Sharon Moore in the offense. A couple of interesting play calls in the 1st half. They line up in quads formation here on 2nd down, then break out to a trips left here. 3 receivers off to the left. McCarthy claps the hands it off to Blake Corum. He breaks free. Blake Corum with some daylight up all the way near the 1st down marker up to the 29. They'll say he's just short. It'll be 3rd and 1 for Michigan.
And there's a lot to dissect with that play. They sent 4 people in motion. Michigan is getting extremely creative, not only with their play calling, but with their looks and their offensive formations. As creative as I've seen this year so far. Corum there with a nice run.
Jumbo set in now for Michigan. Trente Jones in, as is Miles Hinson. Double tight end set. A.J. Barner as well as Max Bredesen. McCarthy takes a snap, hands it off. Corum, as they always do on short plays, reaching for the first down. He did not get it, though. He's short. It's going to be 4th down likely, depending on where the officials spot this.
Now we'll see what Michigan wants to do. I think it is going to be 4th down, Neal. And Michigan looks like they're keeping their offense out there, which is interesting. They're up 5.
And that ball is less than a yard away from the first down marker. Michigan keeping the jumbo formation in here. You'd have to think this is where they've always gone to Blake Corum on the short runs.
We'll see if they try to draw off sides.
2 tight ends set. McCarthy under center. Blake Corum about 6 yards behind him. Takes a snap. McCarthy's going to roll out, looking for Corum in the flat. McCarthy still rolling, looking, tries to cut inside, gets the first down and more. J.J. McCarthy up into the red zone and wrestled down by Penn State at about the 20-yard line. A first down for Michigan.
That was a designed play-action rollout to the right side. You had Corum running a route. You had Colston Loveland running a route. Both were covered by Penn State. J.J. taking matters into his own hands, getting his way past the sticks for the first down. That's the guts you want from your Heisman-caliber quarterback.
Definitely gutsy. I mean, so to say, J.J. McCarthy, his second big run of the day. He has 18 rushing yards on the day for the Wolverines. Michigan keeping the extra offensive lineman here in Trente Jones. McCarthy in the pistol formation. Edwards behind him. They'll go to Don. The Don goes forward up for about 2 yards before he's wrestled down by Chop Robinson.
And if Michigan ends this drive with a score, with a touchdown, this would be the perfect drive for Michigan. It's been grueling. It's been tough. It's been a battle in the trenches. But with the amount of time they're milking on the clock, we're past the halfway mark of the 3rd quarter already.
I was just going to say, I mean, they have been milking this clock absolutely down. 6 minutes and 30 seconds to go here in the 3rd quarter. Wolverines again motion 4 players. It's a twin set, 2 receivers off right, 2 left. Edwards off to the left of McCarthy. JJ in the gun. Fakes the handoff. He's going to hold it. McCarthy up the left sideline and then gets brought down at the 8 or the 9, but it's going to be a first down for Michigan. My goodness, JJ showing the legs off today as Jalen Reed brought him down.
This drive especially, I mean, it's at least 2 or 3 design runs for JJ, and he got clobbered at the end of that play. He's up and in the huddle, though, but JJ McCarthy putting his body on the line for Michigan.
You have to like seeing the read option. As we said earlier, McCarthy got a lot of running plays last year, not as many this year. Trips right now for the Wolverines. 1st and goal from the 9. Donovan Edwards lined up right behind McCarthy in the pistol. They'll hand it off to Edwards, who gets wrestled down by Danny Dennis Sutton 3 yards behind the line. What a great play by the sophomore out of Millsboro, Delaware.
Yeah, that was a complete break apart there by the Michigan offensive line. I don't even think Edwards got out of the backfield. Bit of a setback for Michigan here.
Under 5.5 minutes to go here in the 3rd quarter. Michigan continues to milk the clock down. It's their first drive of the 2nd half.
Continuing to milk the clock, but we'll see. Shortened field. Michigan's playbook is definitely limited here, although they've had success being creative on the ground.
Wolverines with 2 offensive linemen, 2 additional offensive linemen. JJ under center, hands it off. Blake Corum up the middle, and he gains the lost yardage back up to about the 10-yard line, the officials say. And so it's going to be 3rd and goal for Michigan at the 10. 3rd and virtual 10 here.
This would be a huge stop for Penn State if they can keep Michigan out of the end zone.
And Michigan takes out the additional offensive lineman, brings in some skill position. Samaj Morgan, the true freshman, into the game. They go trips right, or excuse me, it's bunch formation off to the right. Cornelius Johnson alone off to the left. Donovan Edwards off to the right hip of J.J. McCarthy. McCarthy checks the play at the line. It's Colston Loveland, Roman Wilson, Samaj Morgan in the bunch. J.J. in the gun. Hands it off to Edwards, off to the left. Edwards with a little bit of daylight, breaks the tackle, reaching for the pylon, and gets pushed out of bounds at the 3. It's going to be 4th and goal for Michigan.
Huge call here coming up for Michigan's coaching staff. 4th
and goal at the 3-yard line with 4:10 to go here. What does Sharon Moore decide to do? He's bringing out the kicking team. James Turner, the kicker, onto the field here.
It's tough, right? I mean, it's still going to be a one-possession game if this kick goes through. This is a massive win for Penn State. A lot of time went down on the clock, but score-wise, penning this field goal, we'll see where we're at.
So Michigan attempting here a very short little pooch kick field goal. James Turner, 8 of 10 on the season. The kick is up and through the uprights and good for Michigan. 17-9 is now the score in Happy Valley in favor of the Wolverines.
So I said this was a win for Penn State. It was because they kept it at a one-possession game. 17-9, and that two-point conversion attempt in the first half is not looking so good for James Franklin right now. Regardless, 17-9, still a one-possession game. Win for Michigan, though, because there's 3.5 minutes left in the third quarter.
Definitely is. I mean, a 13-play, 45-yard drive for the Wolverines results in a 22-yard field goal to put them up 8. That drive took 8 minutes and 4 seconds off the clock there, Owen. I mean, we've talked about it all the time about how this team's MO is to run the ball and then run it some more. They did a great job of it right there. They've been opening up the running lanes. Blake Corum up to 80 yards on the ground. Donovan Edwards has 48. What do you think kept them out of the end zone there? I mean, they had 3 shots at it, didn't really get anything. Donovan Edwards got somewhat close, but nothing else was near there.
The 1st and 10, the setback of -2 yards, I think, shrunk Michigan's playbook. And when you run it on 2nd and 12, really, because it's 2nd and goal, when you run it on 2nd and 12 and you get 3, then you run it again on 3rd and long and you get to the 3-yard line. It's just a condensed playbook for Michigan, not a lot of options. I think they stuck to what they know and they were safe about it. They got a field goal, but still, this keeps Penn State in it. But this puts a lot of pressure on the Nittany Lion offense, which has been rather lackluster today. I mean, it's not like they're a great offense to begin with, especially considering they're the 10th ranked team in the country. But this is a lot of pressure for Penn State on this drive in particular. We'll see how they respond. If I'm Michigan, I'm feeling really good about things right now. You haven't been dominant, but you've controlled the ball. Defense has played well. Offense has done their job.
And you'd have to think, Owen, I mean, this is a very different Penn State offense, just as you said, from past James Franklin teams, in that they're not going to air the ball out. It's not an air raid offense of old. They don't have amazing skill position players like they used to in Miles Sanders, Saquon Barkley, Chris Godwin, to name a few.
Yep.
I mean, this passing offense, I should say, Drew Aller's thrown for less than 1,900 passing yards on the season. That's just good enough for 210 a game. They can't really get down more than one possession, can they, to get back in this game? I mean, we're already getting to the end of the third quarter here.
I mean, I hate guaranteeing things, but it would look very difficult for them if Michigan was able to increase this score past 8 points, which is why this drive is so crucial for Penn State. And going back to what you mentioned about Aller, they've been struggling in the passing game. What approach do you take? I mean, Katron Allen on paper has been good at 6.9 yards per carry, but when you take away his 34-yard gain, he's sitting at 6 for 14. So if you're Penn State's offense, what do you look towards? And I honestly don't have the answer for that. I don't know if you've seen anything so far, but I think if you're Penn State, you just got to play your conventional offense and hope something pops.
Yeah, just as our color commentator in the first half, Coby Segal, said, the difference right now really is that field goal that Penn State took at the 3-yard line in the first half. I mean, they're down a possession here. Maybe perhaps if they go for that and score there, this game is a tie ball game. Instead, it's not. Penn State down 8.
Hindsight's always 20/20, right? But when you have an offense like Penn State that maybe is lackluster and a defense is playing well like Michigan, you got to take every opportunity you can get. Go for the end zone.
Doman now will kick this one away from Michigan's own 35. A deep boot right down the center of the field, and behind the end zone, it'll be a touchback. So Aller and Penn State will take over at their own 25, down 8 here. And we'll have a media timeout with 3:36 to go again in the third quarter. Michigan leads this 17-9 over the 10th ranked team in the country. But, just as we mentioned, Owen, that turnover on that first drive by Drew Aller was just such a killer for the Nittany Lion offense, where it feels like at times when your offense is struggling, the very last thing you want to do is be turning the ball over and putting your defense on the field nonstop. What do they change here? Do you think James Franklin possibly gets a little bit more conservative and running the ball more, or do they have to keep trying to air it out a little bit?
I don't think you can afford to get conservative, frankly. Michigan defense has stifled you with the exception of a couple of plays. Going back to the turnover, I don't know if that was because They were being very risky. I mean, Rayshon Benny, I think, just made a good play, punching that ball out of Drew Aller's hands. To be fair, that initial drive didn't look bad before the turnover. They were moving the ball, albeit Michigan was forcing some third down situations, but Penn State was moving the ball relatively well. So I think you stick to what you've been doing. It's not like Penn State's been completely shut out offensively this game. But like you said, Neal, you have to make a point not to turn it over. You can't get sloppy. When you make a mistake, I believe it was the Minnesota coach earlier in the year that said this, Michigan as an opposing team. Michigan will be there to make you pay for it, and they will punish you for it. And Penn State just figured out why. I mean, that fumble costed them, 8 minutes and 3 points. And now they're in a way bigger hole than they were before. So we will see how Penn State responds here. Michigan, I would say, is in pretty good shape right now.
Yeah, and I believe the coach that you were referring to is P.J. Fleck, who said that Michigan is just like a tight boa constrictor.
Yes.
That they don't make mistakes, and they don't hurt themselves more than anything. And I feel like that's a trend that you often see with the very best teams of college football, the most elite teams, is that they don't beat themselves. And this Michigan team certainly hasn't done that. I mean, they've been opportunistic on defense, creating turnovers. They're plus 10 now in the turnover margin on the season. They've had, I don't even know how many pick sixes I'm trying to think about right now. At least 4 or 5, which is just unbelievable.
Yes, not quite the vampire, the boa constrictor is what I was looking for. Regardless, the point is there.
It certainly is, as we have some Taylor Swift being played here in Happy Valley. Today's attendance in Beaver Stadium, almost 111,000. Just a big stadium is Beaver Stadium. The 3 levels off to our right. The maize and blue, though, decent amount of fans off to our left.
They're showing off.
Aller now in the gun. Next to him is Katron Allen. And he'll hand it off to Katron Allen. Up the left side by the left hash, and he gets taken down by Junior Colson. A 5-yard pickup for Penn State. Excuse me, it was actually Quentin Johnston on the stop. So 2nd and 5 for Aller in this Nittany Lion offense. Lambert Smith goes in motion. Aller in the gun. Allen off to his left. You got to think Penn State needs some points here. 3:05 to go in the third quarter. Aller takes the snap, hands it off. Allen gets absolutely stuffed at the line, but then reaches forward for maybe about a yard or two, making this a 3rd and somewhat manageable, about 3rd and 3 at the 32.
Another third down for Penn State, and every one of their sets, so their 10-yard sets, have resulted in third downs. That's what a good team like Michigan does.
Nickelback formation for Michigan. 4-man front, 2 linebackers behind him. Aller in the gun in the empty set. They've done this all day today. Lambert Smith off to the left, as is Katron Allen. Tyler Warren, the tight end, in the slot in the right. Aller alone in the backfield. Looks to Franklin in the sideline. Then yelling at his receivers. He's got to get the snap off. Aller does. Fronted by Josiah Storr. Gets rid of the pass to Tyler Warren. It'll be a first down for Penn State as he gets dragged down by Keon Sabb.
And good play there, good pick up there by Penn State. A needed first down, and now they're moving with some urgency, going no huddle as we approach the end of the third quarter.
2 receivers off to the right for Penn State in stack formation. It's Cephas and McClain. Lambert Smith alone off to the left. He's been fronted by Will Johnson all day, and Johnson's done a solid job. They're going to throw it to Lambert Smith, and Johnson deflects it and breaks it up immediately, just as I said, making great plays at the cornerback position for the Wolverines. It'll be 2nd and 10 off the incomplete pass.
Yeah, that ball needs to be caught. 2 hands on there. It was Keandre Lambert Smith. 2 hands on that ball. The hit from Johnson didn't really seem like it could have affected that, just a dropped pass. And at this point in the game, you need those if you're Penn State.
Lambert Smith, the top receiver for Penn State, yet to complete a pass, or complete a reception, I should say. Aller now alone in the gun. Empty set here. Trips left. They motion Theo Johnson from left to the right of the field. Aller, quick throw to Theo Johnson. It's a screen, a little tunnel screen. Johnson reaches forward for about a yard or 2, but gets dragged down by a couple Wolverines defenders there. Mike Sainristil and Keon Sabb on the play.
Penn State loves these play-action short passes. They went for one the last play on the incompletion. Now go for one for the tight end. Only gains a couple. 3rd and 8.
Yeah, I'm not sure I like these short little screen plays on 2nd and long. as Penn State once again in third down is in an empty set. They go trips left this time with the 2 tight ends and Theo Johnson, Tyler Warren. Lambert Smith in the slot on the right. Aller motions Warren. Drops back. Aller gets the snap. Fires to Lambert Smith off the right sideline, and Michigan shoves him out of bounds with Jalen Warren and Josh Wallace. It's going to be 4th and 2 for Penn State. Decision time for James Franklin.
We'll see, and we all know that James Franklin tends to be a conservative coach, but I don't know if you can afford to be conservative in this situation.
48 seconds on the clock here in the third quarter. Penn State at their own 45-yard line with a 4th and about 2.5 actually. And James Franklin's going to keep the offense out there. Penn State's a little disorganized here, out of their own huddle here. Trips left. Aller in the gun again. Motion Cephas backwards. He's not even eligible. And then he comes back in bunch formation. They're still not set. Aller takes a snap. That's got to be either a legal formation. Then James Franklin's going to use the timeout. Penn State was absolutely discombobulated right there on that 4th down. And the fans are booing. They don't like that.
And what do we go back to? You can't afford to make mistakes. Now, that wasn't as big of a mistake as the fumble was. But it costed you a timeout. And by the looks of this game, if you want to win it, if you're Penn State, you're going to need every timeout you can get. Still a huge 4th down coming up here.
Yeah, the first time out of the second half used by James Franklin and Penn State. They'll have 2 remaining for the rest of this game. But it seemed like out of the huddle, Owen, they weren't even set. They had initially a trips left formation, and then Aller was screaming at Cephas to possibly either go backwards. That's what Cephas thought. And then he was screaming at him to get into a bunch formation. And then they yelled at him to move in motion across the field, and then they just had to call a timeout. I mean, all sorts of things were going wrong for the Penn State offense right there.
Definitely.
Do you like this decision, though? 21 seconds left here on the game clock in the third quarter. You're down 8 if you're Penn State on 4th and 2.5.
I don't like the decision, but it's the best one they have. I mean, let's play this out. If Penn State punts this football, what happened on Michigan's first drive of the second half? They milked the clock. Who says they're not going to just milk the clock again?
Yeah.
So if you're Penn State here, especially considering that, 4th and 2, this is easily gettable. You've gotten multiple first downs on this drive in short yardage situations, so you have no choice but to go for it. Again, I think the disorganization that costed you a timeout hurts, but this game isn't over. And I think Penn State, they must go for it here.
Yeah, I mean, they're down 8. And just as you mentioned, Michigan's offense has done a good job today in converting on most of these drives here. I mean, they've scored on 3 of their 5 drives, with one of those, or possibly their 6th drive, I guess you could say, being the end of the half, in which they only had 1 play. And so Wolverines' offense have been very consistent. They've kind of been like that boa constrictor that P.J. Fleck mentioned, but big 4th down here nonetheless.
I just want to give a shout out to Beaver Stadium and the Penn State fan base. I mean, they have been so fun to be around. They just make this environment super exciting. I'm going to give a shout out to Middle Pennsylvania and Appalachia at large, Neal. I mean, this has been a great trip with you guys. It's been so fun exploring this region of the country. It often goes underappreciated, and what better way to explore the region than watching a top 10 matchup in college football.
Yeah, I mean, just as you mentioned, just a beautiful scene today. The striped out crowd here in Penn State, 110,800 in attendance, with the Appalachian Mountains just off in the distance. I mean, it's a beautiful, it's a painting. I mean, it's just gorgeous here in Happy Valley. And Penn State now has brought out their punter. Wow, what a decision by James Franklin. After the timeout, they're going to punt it with Riley Thompson. The senior for the Nittany Lions at 212 pounds and 6'1", will be punting this one away to Jake Thaw, who's lined up right now at Michigan's own 10. Penn State down 8 with 21 seconds to go. Thompson gets a snap. Punts away a little bit of a line drive kick. Thaw's going to let it go. Bounces at the 6. And recovered by Penn State at the 2-yard line. What a play by the Nittany Lions hands team right there. A great kick and great recovery by Cam Miller. And Michigan's going to have to start this one at their own 2, maybe 3-yard line here, up 8.
They will, and that was a good result for Penn State, pinning Michigan inside of the 5-yard line. thankful that there isn't a commercial timeout here because I'm excited to see this, Neal.
I think most of the fans have to be. 12 seconds left here in the third quarter. Michigan with a little bit of a jumbo set formation. An extra offensive lineman, 3 tight ends mark it in the game for the Wolverines. McCarthy under center, sends Bredesen in motion. It's going to be QB sneak for Michigan, and JJ is going to go forward for about 2 yards there to make it 2nd and 8. Michigan's up to their own 5, and that's likely going to be the end of the third quarter. It will be. So we'll head into the fourth quarter here in Happy Valley as the Wolverines players put up the 4 with their fingers up in a top 10 showdown here in Beaver Stadium. Michigan has the lead over number 10 Penn State, 17-9. What a game.
What a game this has been. And I like that opening play. I like that last play, that third quarter from Michigan. Maybe catching them off guard. You think QB sneak maybe if you're on your 1 or 2. Michigan on their 3, they employ the QB sneak. They get 4 there. So
no, they only got about 2.
Oh, they got 2.
It's
Okay.
going to be about 2nd and 8 for the Wolverines from their own 5, maybe 6. But nonetheless, I mean, you got to be happy here. Up 8 on the road in a tough environment in the Big Ten, playing at the 10th ranked team in the country, a team that played Ohio State pretty tough in Columbus. The Michigan's beating them by 8 on the road without their head coach, I might add.
Definitely. And I think Michigan has looked like this all year. They've looked great all year, and Michigan fans have to be optimistic. But we all talk about how great Michigan is and how they're going to beat Ohio State and how they're going to finally go to the national championship, and who knows what's going to happen when they get there. But I'm telling you right now, this team doesn't think about any of that. They take it day by day. They move as a collective conscious. Every man in that locker room has one goal. They all know their role. No one oversteps their boundaries. They're all locked in, not only on an athletic level with one another, but emotionally with one another. As part of my research for this game, I actually watched Roman Wilson's vlogs, Michigan's receiver, and just the personalities that these guys have around each other. It's clear they're so grateful to be in this opportunity, and it really helps the on-field product for Michigan. I mean, this team, in that regard, from a structural maturity standpoint, in my opinion, is flawless. And then you add on the fact that you've had all this drama with Harbaugh, not only right now, but to start the year. I mean, he was suspended to start the year. People so quickly forget that. And by the way, I do think that helps Michigan now because they've had a situation like this before, albeit at home against East Carolina. You still are familiar with how your team operates without your head coach. But the fact that Michigan is able to stick together and the cohesion that they display under all of this off-field scrutiny and pressure is really something to watch.
And I got to ask you something, Owen, because, one quote that I think stuck out to me a lot before the start of this season wasn't actually made by either of these teams. It was Marcus Freeman, the head coach of Notre Dame, who said that he thought one of the problems that they had last year, Notre Dame I'm talking about, of course, was that they were so focused on going 12-0 before even going 1-0 every week. And it's something that a lot of head coaches talk about, but especially for this Michigan team that has had so many distractions, like almost every week, so to say, this season. How difficult do you think it is to stay focused in on your next opponent? And this is a team that did it last year. Keep in mind, they went 12-0 in the regular season. But just as you mentioned, they've done a great job of it. How difficult do you think that is?
I think it's really difficult. And it's why Michigan has been so good, because they've been able to take it week by week, like you mentioned, Neal. And it's clear that they're doing this against Penn State. But also, the big game at the end of the year, that's always in mind, but they're still staying locked into the task at hand. I mean, in 2016, you lose an away game at Iowa, and then you lose a heartbreaker at home against OSU. I'm not saying that they weren't focused on a week-by-week basis, but it seems for Michigan, they're in firm control of all of these games. I mean, right now it seems like they're in control, and I don't want to jinx anything here, but I've just felt comfortable as a fan with them all season.
They'll need a big fourth quarter here to close this one out. In a top 10 showdown in Happy Valley, it's getting loud again here in the striped navy blue and white crowd, I should say, for Penn State. Michigan with the 2 tight end set again at their own 5-yard line. It's 2nd and 8 for the Wolverines. McCarthy getting the boys organized. JJ in the pistol. Takes a snap, hands it off. Blake Corum rushing forward and gets just stuffed down by number 41, Kobe King out of Detroit, Michigan. Gets a stop for only about 2 yards for Michigan. 3rd and 6.
Yeah, great tackle there by King. Exactly what you want if you're Penn State. 3rd and 6 for Michigan here. That decision will pay off if Penn State is able to force a 4th down.
3rd and 6 for Michigan. You can hear the crowd getting into it. McCarthy in the gun. Bunch formation off to his right. Roman Wilson, Loveland, and Samaj Morgan there. Off to his left is Cornelius Johnson. Donovan Edwards off to the left hip of McCarthy. JJ peering through the visor. Gets a snap. Wasn't even really ready for it. Fires a screen off to Samaj Morgan. We're going to have a stoppage of play. It's going to be a Michigan timeout. Didn't even seem like McCarthy was ready for that snap from Drake Nugent.
No, I think it was clear the timeout was called before the snap, and some players thought that there was a timeout and some players weren't aware. But Penn State, I mean, this is a huge play for them. If they can force a 4th down and get that football back, a lot of time left in this game. It's early, very early in the 4th quarter, and you're down by 1 score. Now, a lot of work to do. But it only takes a couple plays to maybe flip the tide of momentum in this game.
Owen, what's your go-to play here? It's 3rd and 6. You're at your own 7-yard line. You got to be careful with your end zone being right there, and you want to somewhat try to play the field position battle, being up 8. But you also want to get the 1st down. What's your play call here? I'm
not opposed to a run. I'm not opposed to it. If you want to really go for the 1st down, I need a quick read over the middle, maybe to A.J. Barner or Colston Loveland coming across the middle. The last thing I would want is for some crazy mayhem play where maybe J.J. has to get out of the pocket, make something happen, and you just make a horrible mistake like an interception. At this part of the field, that would be a killer. So safety first for me. But if you want to go get that 1st down, give me something quick over the middle.
On the flip side, for Penn State's defense, led by defensive coordinator Manny Diaz, of course, previously was the head coach of the Miami Hurricanes. What do you think they draw up here? Are you blitzing J.J. McCarthy and trying to put him under pressure, or are you sitting back a little bit more in coverage? What's the right play call on 3rd and 6?
I think blitzing is the right play call. J.J. today, 7 of 8. I think he makes you pay if he has no pressure around him. And Michigan's offensive line has been solid in the pass blocking regard this season. If you give J.J. too much time, I have a lot of confidence that he will make the throw and get the 1st down. We will see, though.
And, you know, as you mentioned that, by the way, McCarthy has not made a pass attempt this second half.
Yeah.
He is 0 of 0 in the second half in the passing game, still stuck at the 60 passing yards that he had from the 1st half. Maybe it's time they air it out. Maybe they try to stick with the rushing game still. Nonetheless, we'll have to wait and see. A few other big games going around the Big Ten. Michigan's 2 arch rivals. Michigan State will be going on the road in Columbus playing the Buckeyes. Around the country, Missouri and Tennessee will be going at it. Georgia will be hosting Ole Miss. A great Saturday slate here in November. But back to action in Happy Valley. Bunch set off to the right. Michigan changes the formation just slightly. They have A.J. Barner split off to the left. It's Roman Wilson, Colston Loveland, and Cornelius Johnson off to the right. Donovan Edwards is the running back. Penn State in a nickelback formation with 2 linebackers. They press 4. McCarthy brings in Barner to the left side of the line. Checks the play. JJ in the gun. Looks through the visor, gets a snap. Loveland in motion, hands it off to Edwards. Off the right edge. Donovan Edwards reaching for the 1st down.
So
Did
close.
He get it? The refs are going to mark him just short. About a yard short, they're saying, at least as of right now. It was a zone run off the right edge. Edwards got through the C gap, and Michigan's going to have to bring out the punting team.
Great stop there by Penn State. Obviously, you can't go for it here for Michigan, even if it's 4th and 1, 4th and inches. Absolutely no point in taking that risk, so good job by Penn State. Michigan not able to waste a lot of time like they did in their first drive in the second half. So Penn State is still very much in this game.
Doman will have to punt it away. He's averaging 39 yards per punt today. Goes deep to Daquan Hardy. He gets hit by his own player, bounces off of it. Hardy breaking out right. Gets a block. Hardy still going with it, and then pushed out of bounds at the 46-yard line. There's a flag on the field. Likely going to be a block in the back. as Michigan's number 35, Caden Colsar, got absolutely lit up by a Penn State special teamer.
Ball is definitely coming back. We've got 2 flags on the play.
As you
See
can
if
hear,
they're
the
for the same
fans,
penalty.
fans are not happy with it. We're sitting in
No.
a booth at the 40-yard line, the south 40-yard line. And the call is going to be actually holding on Penn State. The fans are not happy. A few of them are showing that disgust right in front of us. And this one's going to be backed up for the Nittany Lions. It hasn't been what they've wanted today on offense so far, and that's certainly not going to help. Down 17-9 with 13-17 to go in State College. Penn State's going to have the ball at their own 28, Owen.
Again, no mistakes for Penn State. Do what you've been doing. You've been moving the ball. It's been slowly, but you've been moving the ball. Maybe you have to open it up a bit, but you still got a lot of time. 13 minutes, 1-score game.
Aller in the gun. One receiver off to the left, one off to the right. Aller's going to take the snap. He fires deep downfield for Cephas and broken up by Mike Sainristil still. What a great defensive play. Looking for the out route was Drew Aller.
We have a flag on the near side of the field. Not be offsides.
And it's going to be offsides on Michigan. I'm not sure who. They're going to say it's on Jalen Warren, interestingly enough. 5-yard penalty. So Penn State, that play doesn't count. It'll be 2nd and 5. Or excuse me, 1st and 5 for the Nittany Lions here.
I think Jalen Harrell just lined up offsides. I don't think he jumped or anything. He just lined up.
Trips left for Drew Aller in the gun. Nick Singleton's off to his right. Theo Johnson in motion. Aller takes the snap, hands it off. Singleton breaking free up the left and gets actually stuffed. It looked like he had a little bit of daylight possibly up the middle, unable to get through it. And that's going to make for 2nd and 4.
He did have some daylight, but that was close quite quickly. Good job by Michigan rallying to the football. And those are plays that if you're a Penn State fan, you might grimace at. Only a gain of a couple, gain of 1, and that clock is running.
It was Chris Jenkins who got the tackle. Split set for Penn State. One receiver off left, one off to the right. Lambert Smith working on Will Johnson. Cephas on Mike Sainristil still. Warren goes in motion. Aller in the pistol set. Hands it off to Singleton. It's a flea flicker. Aller looking for it. Has to throw it away off to the right sideline and out of bounds. Is this going to be grounding? It didn't really seem like there was a receiver in the area. The officials are going to get together here on the flea flicker called by James Franklin.
We will see. Michigan covered that flea flicker beautifully.
Jalen Harrell was yelling for the flag to be thrown, and they're going to drop it from the referee's pocket. It's going to be grounding on Drew Aller, and so it's going to be a 15-yard penalty and a loss of down. I mean, just a killer for the Nittany Lions on the flea flicker. Gregory Blum is the referee today, making the call. 4th and 16 now for Penn State.
And we talked about potentially opening up the playbook, right, getting a bit more risky. Well, a flea flicker is as risky as you get, and you lose it down and you get a 15-yard penalty. And obviously Penn State staying on the field here for 4th and 16.
Or excuse me, 3rd and 16. I
3rd
think
and 16,
scoreboard is obviously wrong here. But 3rd and 16. Aller in the gun. Twin set off to the right with Cephas. And Lambert Smith split off to the left. Aller checks the play at the line. Singleton moves to his left. The junior takes the snap. Or excuse me, the sophomore looking deep. Aller's going to air it out, looking for Lambert Smith, and throws it out of bounds. Lambert Smith wasn't even close to it. Josh Wallace was in coverage. A little bit of hand fighting going on, but that's going to make 4th and 16.
Not nearly enough for a flag, and it's interesting. As this game has progressed and Michigan's began making plays, you've seen the cheers get louder and louder for Michigan. A lot of boos here. Well, that was because of the no call, but there have been some booing in regards to the Penn State offensive play calling as well. I mean, I love this fan base, man. It's so fun to be here. It really makes everything alive and electric.
The senior Riley Thompson is going to punt it away. Another line drive punt as he's had kind of all day. Thaw's going to return it from the 30. Jake Thaw cuts inside, makes a man miss, and then goes down at the 31. Fans are not happy.
Block in the back they wanted. They want a block in the back.
Looked like it was number
Ellis.
2 for Penn State.
Or Liam Clifford, maybe.
Keaton Ellis, who went down after getting shoved from behind, possibly by Caden Colsar. No call on the play, but it seemed like Ellis might have just fallen down, to be honest, as he was kind of reaching for Jake Thaw. Nonetheless, he managed to trip him up, actually. It's funny, too, that the Penn State fans aren't happy, but there also could have been a penalty on Ellis there for tripping as well, as he clearly kicks out the right leg. But
Interesting.
nonetheless, Michigan's going to get the ball here at their own 32. And I was mistaken, actually. It was Zeke Berry from Michigan who was kind of getting tangled up with Ellis. So to reset here, 12-11 to go in the fourth quarter. It's going to be 1st and 10 for Michigan, up 17-9 at their own 31-yard line, Owen. This seems like a huge drive. I mean, if they can score here, anything, even a field goal puts you up 2 possessions, can kind of start shutting the door a little bit on James Franklin and the Nittany Lions.
I mean, you're looking at least for a field goal here if you're Michigan, and it's much easier than what you started the last drive, which was inside of your own 5. You're at your own 31 now. The playbook may be a bit more open, so Michigan can go back to playing their style of offense that suits them the best. And you're right, Neal. If they get a field goal, it's difficult for Penn State to come back here, so we'll see what happens.
Yeah, and we'll have to wait and see, obviously, what happens. With everything else that's gone on outside of this Michigan program, as you might have heard a few fans yelling about Jim Harbaugh near us, but these Wolverines have done a fantastic job today. I mean, they've been unfazed from the start. They've shown up in a top 10 environment in Big Ten country, and they've done their job. I mean, they haven't really been airing it out, but they've stuck to their main MO of just running the ball. J.J. McCarthy is yet to attempt a pass here in the second half with 12-11 to go in the fourth. We'll see maybe if they open up the playbook again. But just as we said, Wolverines up 8. Owen, you got to think they need at least, 30, 35 yards here to get into field goal range. What are you drawing up if you're Sharon Moore to get the ball down the field? Are you sticking to the run game once more, or do you try to open it up just a little bit?
I mean, you don't have to have deep shots to get the ball down the field. I'm sticking to the running game. I'm sticking to what Michigan knows. I'm not getting overly conservative because I do eventually want to move the ball down the field and pick up a couple of first downs at least. But I'm just playing the conventional Michigan offense that we've seen all game and really all season, which starts with the run but can get really creative with J.J. McCarthy at quarterback, whether that's with him using his arm or using his legs. Michigan here starts off with the gun.
Trips right for the Wolverines. Tyler Morris is into the game in the slot next to Roman Wilson. Cornelius Johnson all the way on the right sideline. And McCarthy's in the gun with Blake Corum off to his left. 1st and 10 for Michigan in the fourth quarter, 12-11 to go at their own 31. What's the play call here? McCarthy gets the signals. Corum moves off to his right now in the gun. JJ looks through the visor, hands it off to Blake Corum. A quick run up the left, and Corum gets about 2, maybe 3 as he's brought down by Abdul Carter.
Yep, standard play there. Corum up the middle. For 3 yards, that clock continues to move.
Abdul Carter, the sophomore from Philadelphia, one of the leaders of this Penn State defense, has done a great job at that will position. Michigan now, 2 receivers off left. They motion Loveland, hand it off to Blake Corum, up the middle. Corum reaching for the first down, and he gets up to the 40. It's going to be just short, 3rd and 1 for Michigan at the 40-yard line.
Another big play here for Michigan. Last time they didn't get it on 3rd down, just a hair short. This time it's much easier. They're only a yard from the sticks. We'll see what they draw up.
3 tight end formation for the Wolverines with Barner, Bredesen, and Loveland all in. JJ takes the snap in the gun, hands it off to Corum right up the middle as they usually do, and Blake's going to get it with ease.
Yep, standard Michigan 3rd and short there. Corum right up the middle.
A big pile kind of in the middle as the linemen are going to try to separate all of them off of each other. Trevor Keegan at the very bottom of it, but nonetheless, Michigan gets a first down. They convert by a yard and advance to it. So they're at their own 42 now, 1st and 10. A cloudy day here in Happy Valley. Not too cold, not very windy either, just perfect football conditions at about 50 degrees. JJ under center. We haven't seen this too much. McCarthy drops back, fakes it. He's going to throw it deep. JJ looking for Barner, reaching over his defender, and it's incomplete. But the flag goes out on Kalen King, the junior from Detroit who was in coverage. And we'll see if it's going to be pass interference. And that's the call.
Yeah, and I think King had that covered nicely. But the throw by JJ kind of forced King to create contact with Barner.
The Penn State fans are not happy at all. Michigan's going to get 15 yards as a result of that penalty. Barner tried reaching over Kalen King, who has had not the best season so far. He's been a solid player as a projected first-round cornerback for Penn State. Michigan's going to use a timeout here. 10:21 to go in the fourth quarter.
Yeah.
17-9 is the score.
I mean, if you're Penn State, you've had 3 pretty big mistakes this half. The fumble by Drew Aller on their first offensive drive of the half. The second was the intentional grounding, which set them back and forced them to punt.
And it's a tough call, Owen, because you have King, who doesn't really turn his head, and he's playing more of the body of A.J. Barner, but Barner is going towards the ball. That's what creates the contact. I mean, it's a 50-50 call, but maybe that's part of the reason why Michigan should be airing the ball out more, just to give themselves chances, even to create penalties like that.
Yeah, that's a tough call just watching the replay here.
So Michigan's going to have it at the 43-yard line. J.J. McCarthy in the pistol. And a false start on Michigan. They were nowhere near being set there, and they're going to be backed up 5 yards. Seemed like everybody other than the center really moved for the Wolverines. Drake Nugent unable to get the snap off in time, and so it's going to be 1st and 15 for Michigan at their own 48-yard line. Do they try to go back to the air, or do they stick to the ground game? Khalil Mullings is in at running back off the right hip of J.J. McCarthy. Donovan Edwards, the running back, all the way on the left sideline, playing receiver. 2 receivers off to the right. Edwards in motion. They fake the sweep. It's going to be McCarthy keeping it all the way, and he gets chopped down at the 50-yard line by number 20 for Penn State. Adisa Carter had it covered all the way through. Great play by the Nittany Lions.
Yeah, JJ keeping the ball quite a bit this half. That time, Penn State, good job of covering it up.
So JJ is going to be in the gun here. Wolverines at midfield at the 50. Twin set. Tyler Morris and Loveland off to the left. Roman Wilson and Johnson off to the right. Donovan Edwards in at running back. It's getting loud here in Happy Valley. It's crunch time. McCarthy's going to keep it. JJ has some room off the right. McCarthy cuts inside and then gets chopped down at the 43-yard line by Coby King.
Yeah.
Michigan gets all the lost yardage back. It's going to be 3rd and about 10.
It was McCarthy versus Jalen Reed, number 1, the safety on Penn State. McCarthy barely got the edge. That could have been another loss. Instead, a big gain for Michigan.
And Michigan continues to milk the clock here. 9:15 to go in the fourth quarter. Trips left. McCarthy in the gun. Roman Wilson, their favorite receiver, all the way on the left sideline. Loveland into motion. JJ raises his knee. Claps the hands. Hands it off to Edwards, who nowhere to go. Gets thrown down by Penn State. Adisa Carter all over it again. The redshirt senior from Brooklyn, New York, making the play. And Penn State forces a 4th down. Michigan hesitantly is bringing out the punting crew here. Yes, they are. Tommy Doman coming onto the field.
As they should. It's 4th and 8. Yeah, you're in plus territory, but it's just not worth it. Punting is the right call here, and we've kind of had this seesaw back and forth without scores since that Michigan field goal.
So Penn State keeps it to within 1 possession, down 8 here at home. Doman punts it away, looking to keep this around the 20-yard line. Daquan Hardy with a fair catch at the 12-yard line. He has it. So Drew Aller and company will take over at their own 12, down 8 against number 3 Michigan. Can the sophomore from Medina, Ohio lead a touchdown drive to possibly try to tie this thing up? Or do the Michigan defense hold strong? Once again, 8:14 to go in the fourth quarter. You're listening to WCBN Sports on YouTube. Oh, and it's crunch time, though, here in Happy Valley. I mean, Penn State struggled all day really to get things going. Michigan, of course, has that stout defense. Do you think it's been more of a case of a great Michigan defense or a struggling Penn State offense today?
I think it's been a combination of both. For Penn State, you have the mistakes like the fumble by Drew Aller. You have the penalties, especially in the second half. They were relatively clean in the first half, but you have the intentional grounding, which was a drive killer here in the second half. But by that same token, Michigan has let up some chunk plays on the ground specifically. But they've also made some great plays. In the first half, I cannot stress this enough, both defensive tackles, Kenneth Grant, Mason Graham, both made touchdown-saving plays. This has been the theme of this defense all season. Kenneth Grant, that was a breakaway play for Penn State. Singleton, their running back, he was in past the second level. He was past the safety, and Kenneth Grant, the big defensive tackle, the heaviest player in Michigan's defense, came up and made the tackle. So I think that's what's been impressive for me so far. Now, since the field goal that Michigan had early in the third quarter, it's been this seesaw game of back and forth punting. For Penn State, they've kind of been plagued by mistakes, whether that be a turnover or various penalties. And Michigan just really hasn't been able to gain multiple first downs on a given drive. So a low-scoring second half, only 3-0 Michigan in this half.
And it just seems like with the way that this game has gone on, Penn State at their own 12, I mean, they're going to need something special here to go 88 yards and score a touchdown and a two-point conversion to tie this thing up. We'll see if they can do it. They have 179 yards of offense so far today. The average yards per play for both teams, 5.3 for Michigan. Average yards per play, Penn State, 4.2. Nittany Lions are going to need something possibly more than that. We'll see if they get it going on the ground game where they've had most of their success. 124 rushing yards for Penn State, only 55 passing yards. Aller is yet to complete a pass. Both of these quarterbacks actually are yet to complete a pass in the second half. Talk about Big Ten offense. This is a Big Ten game for sure. And so here comes Aller and company. Two receivers off to the left in stack formation. Lambert Smith alone off to the right working on Johnson. Katron Allen is into the game. Aller takes a snap, hands it off to Allen. Allen up the right edge, and he gets stuffed. Maybe gets a yard at most, if anything. The Michigan defense holding strong with Josiah Stewart making the tackle.
That's what you want if you're Michigan. That clock is going to continue to run. We talked about the timeout that Penn State took earlier in the half. That kind of limits their timeout-taking ability here. 2nd and 9, clock is running. Things are looking good for Michigan right now.
Crunch time, less than 8 minutes to go. Aller in the empty set. Trips left for Penn State. They need something to get going here. Tyler Warren's off to the right. They motion Theo Johnson. Bunch set on the right. Aller looking, looks deep for Warren and then throws it out of bounds. Will Johnson was on coverage. Incomplete. It's going to be 3rd and 9.
Yeah, that was his own scheme, and Johnson came from a spot about 5 yards beyond where the Penn State receiver was and kind of abandoned his zone and made a great play on the ball to force a 3rd and long.
As they've had for the most of the season, 5 defensive backs in here in the nickelback formation. Makari Page playing the free safety position. Wolverines showing a 4-man front. Josiah Stewart, the grad transfer who just made the play, coming off the left edge here. Aller in the gun, twin set, 2 receivers off to the left and right. Flag in there, Aller takes the snap, throws it, Cephas makes the catch, and then is dragged down by Makari Page. What a tackle, but there is a flag in the air. What's the call? Referee Gregory Blum's going to hear it from his fellow lineman. And we have an illegal formation call on the offense. Michigan is going to very happily decline that. And it's going to be 4th and 9. Penn State gets a yard and goes 3 and out. They just cannot have that with 7:26 to go here.
I mean, this Penn State defense is doing such a superb job of forcing Michigan to punt drive after drive, and this Penn State offense just can't seem to move the ball. Forced to punt yet again.
Riley Thompson into the game for Penn State once again. That'll be his
Almost
5th
got
punt of the
blocked.
day as it almost gets blocked. It's a good one, though. Jake Thaw moving backwards to the 30, makes the catch, cuts inside, and then gets thrown down at the 31. Good punt coverage by Penn State. A great punt by Thompson, and Keaton Ellis was all over it. So 7:05 to go in the fourth quarter. 2 timeouts apiece for Michigan and Penn State in the top 10 showdown. Wolverines continue to lead this one 17-9, and they're going to get the ball back. It's almost like in the second half, Owen, we're just waiting for one of these two heavyweights to throw a punch.
Yeah.
Like they've been stalking each other nonstop in the ring a little bit, and we're waiting for a punch to be thrown with some sort of touchdown or maybe even another field goal for Michigan. Just 3 points in this third quarter. I forgot to add, too, those 3 points that Michigan had in that third quarter were the first ever given up by Penn State this season in the third quarter. How about that? For a stout defense, Michigan continues their streak of giving up none in the third.
Yeah, I mean, it's been a low-scoring third quarter, and I love your boxing analogy there, Neal. That's precisely really what it's been. Both these defenses holding really strong, and we'll see which offense can really burst out of their bubble. For Michigan, field position has been an issue on a lot of these drives. They've gotten some first downs, but really haven't been able to extend their drives past that. And for Penn State, you had some plays that have fallen apart. You've had some penalties. You obviously had the fumble earlier in the half. So which of these offenses is going to capitalize first?
And that's going to be the question. I mean, you know, we've said it. We've yet to see a pass complete, or actually that was the first pass completed by Dante Cephas on third down right there in the second half of this game. But even that was for no gain. We have yet to see a pass completed for yards here in the second half. It's been a classic Big Ten showdown. Owen, what gets one of these offenses going? I mean, is it more of a defensive mistake, or are they just going to continue to stick to running the ball?
I think the obvious answer is whatever offense gets a play to pop first. And you saw Michigan in the first half. They were struggling to run the ball early, but you get Corum on the outside with an extra offensive tackle, and he rips off a 44-yard gain. So whatever team can maybe see something in the opposing defense and capitalize and get a big play, because we haven't seen a lot of big plays this half, really, at all. So, you know, we'll see.
No, I mean, it's a great point of complementary football. We haven't seen it. As, you know, as people love to say, the best coaches always say, sometimes a passing offense's best friend is a good rushing offense because it frees up the play action. It frees up the quarterback and the receivers in space. And so we'll see if Michigan can get that going, if Drew Aller and Penn State can get that going. You'd have to assume they're going to lean on the rushing attack first, but something's got to give here. One of these two defenses have to give, otherwise it's going to be 17-9 at the end of this game.
Couldn't have said it better myself.
Francisco Villar, the center referee, or center official I should say, is keeping the boys in white and maize from taking the snap here as the media timeout completely ends. McCarthy will go back to work. 2 receivers split off to the left for the Wolverines. It's Max Bredesen in the pistol right next to JJ's left hip. Blake Corum off behind him. JJ standing at about the 26-yard line, hands it off to Corum. Corum goes forward and gets stood up by Kobe King and thrown down at the 31. Great play once again by this Penn State defense.
Yeah, Corum disappeared into that Penn State front 7. They've been stout with the exception of a couple of big plays, and more of the same here for Michigan.
And Blake Corum came into the second half with 64 yards. He's been stuffed over and over with just 29 rushing yards in the second half. So it'll be 2nd and 10 for Michigan. 2 receivers off to the left with Roman Wilson and Cornelius Johnson. A.J. Barner's the tight end. J.J. checks the play at the line, drops back in the shotgun formation. And we're going to have a timeout. Michigan's going to use their second timeout as the play clock was running out again. Man, they have been struggling to get set at times here in the second half. 6:21 to go in the fourth quarter. Owen, do you think that's possibly different communications going on with Jim Harbaugh being in absence?
Possibly. Michigan's had a lot of this like weird audible stuff going on in their offense late in the snap clock. And obviously in this hostile environment, it's very difficult to get everyone on the same page. Not sure if the absence of Jim Harbaugh on the sideline plays a factor into that. I'm sure it doesn't help. But it's really difficult for Michigan and for McCarthy to let his players know what the audible is, what the changes are at the line of scrimmage. It's been difficult all afternoon for Michigan.
And so it'll be 2nd and 10 for Michigan. JJ's in the gun with Blake Corum. 2 receivers off to the left. A.J. Barner's lined up at the left end of the line. They hand it off to Corum. Following some blockers, Corum still waiting patiently and then cuts it, jitterbugging inside up near the 40-yard line and tackled at the 39. It'll be 3rd and 2 for the Wolverines, an 8-yard pickup by Blake Corum.
Corum followed his blockers on the left side of that offensive line until the very last second, split off, made a couple of nice moves, dodged tackles. Good game for Corum. It seems like a huge game because it is, based on what we've seen so far this half. 3rd and 2 for Michigan.
Kevin Winston Jr. was on the tackle. Blake Corum comes back in motion, trips right for the Wolverines. Colston, Loveland, Roman Wilson, and Johnson are the receivers off to the right with A.J. Barner on the left. Loveland goes in motion. They hand it off to Corum, who gets stuffed behind the line. Penn State's defense once again showing up big time with Adisa Carter again on a 3rd down, getting the stop. 4th and 2 for Michigan. They'll have to punt this one away with 5:23 to go in the 4th quarter.
Carter met Corum right at the line of scrimmage on a 3rd and short. That's usually something Michigan depends on and leans on those 3rd and short situations. Not that time. Penn State's defense very stout. Michigan forced to punt.
Tommy Doman getting quite a bit of work here in the second half for the Wolverines. He hasn't been used to it too much. Doman punts it away from near the Big Ten logo at the 25. Deep punt. Daquan Hardy's waiting on it. Makes the catch and then gets pushed out of bounds at the 26-yard line. Well covered by the Wolverines. Solid little 5-6 yard return by Hardy. And so Drew Aller and the Penn State offense, it's go time now. They need something with 4:53 to go, down 8.
Yeah, I mean, it's really been go time for them since Michigan hit that field goal. And in a sense, it's been go time for the Michigan offense to go and put this game away. But neither offense, as we've stated numerous times, have been able to get that done. Now it's Penn State's turn. We're seesawing back and forth, ladies and gentlemen, but this is what Big Ten football is, right?
And we'll see, as I mentioned earlier in that boxing analogy, who throws the punch first. Trips right for Penn State. Theo Johnson goes in motion. Aller checks the play at the line, and Nick Singleton's right next to him. A little bit of a wing T formation. They eventually break out of it with Theo Johnson going towards the line. They hand it off to Singleton. Singleton breaks forward, had a little bit of a hole, and gets about 5 yards before he's dragged down by Junior Colson.
Penn State still with 2 timeouts left. Michigan with 1. So keep that in mind, ladies and gentlemen. 4.5 to go.
Hurry up offense. Twin set for Aller. Aller drops back, looking. He's going to loft it up deep, looking for Johnson. It's incomplete, though. Just threw it in the dirt. Makari Page was all over it as Jalen Harrell was starting to get a little bit of pressure on Aller.
Yeah, good pressure there by Harrell. Forced Aller to make an errant throw.
Beautiful swim move by Harrell. So empty set for Aller on 3rd and 5. Penn State needs something. Trips left here. Lambert Smith in the slot on the right. Where do they go? Theo Johnson in the slot on the left for Penn State. A couple of Drew Aller's favorite targets. They motion Johnson. Aller claps it, gets the football. Aller looking across the middle, fires, dropped by number 7 for Penn State. That's Caden Saunders, who had it right across the middle. Aller hit him a little bit behind, but Makari Page was once again all over it, and it's 4th down for Penn State.
Yeah,
with 4:25 to go.
Page finished that play really nicely. Looked like it was going to be a drop regardless, and Penn State is going for it here on 4th and 6.
This is it. I mean, this is possibly the ball game here. Trips left, empty set. Lambert Smith again in the slot on the right. Nick Singleton awaiting on the right sideline. Aller checks the play at the line. It's a 4, maybe 5-man front. Mike Barrett looks like he's going to rush. He will. Michigan brings 4. Aller throws it away up across the middle. It's incomplete. Oh, my goodness. What is that play call? Michigan's going to get the ball.
There was no one in the area when Drew Aller threw that ball over the middle. Not sure if he was just throwing away, he was under pressure, or if someone didn't run the correct route.
The only person in the area was Chris Jenkins, the nose tackle for the Wolverines, who just got that big paw up. And, I mean, he didn't even have to do anything. There weren't any receivers in the middle of the field.
And I wouldn't even have minded a punt there on 4th down. I mean, your defense has been stopping Michigan's offense. It's 4th and 6, and, I mean, you've basically just thrown the game away. Again, no guarantees.
We got to be very clear, though. Michigan's got to capitalize to do that.
They're at their 30-yard line. They're at Penn State's 30-yard line, but I just don't understand the decision there.
4:21 to go. McCarthy's in the gun, trips right, 3 receivers off. Blake Corum's going to get the handoff, and Corum breaks it free. Some daylight for Blake Corum up the left sideline. Corum's all the way home. Touchdown, Michigan. Blake Corum has his second of the day, and Michigan extends this lead to 2 possessions. A 30-yard touchdown on one play for Michigan, and they immediately make the decision by James Franklin Pay.
Neal, what have we been saying? Who will get the big play to pop first? After time and time again of Blake Corum getting 1, 2, 3 yards of carry, he bursts free here.
Wow.
To effectively ice the game for Michigan.
And the Wolverines are going to attempt the PAT here, a one-play, 30-yard drive off of a Blake Corum closer, a dagger in the hearts of the Penn State Souls as James Turner gets the PAT to go. It's now 24-9. Michigan has a 15-point lead with 4:15 to go. Penn State has only 2 timeouts left. Just a killer for this Penn State faithful.
Yep. A killer. Let's not sugarcoat it. Michigan's defense is the MVP here today. You forced the turnover. You forced the stop on downs. Creating a plus territory situation for the offense. Again, players like Rayshon Benny forcing the fumble. Got Mason Graham. That defensive line's been great.
And I tell you what,
yeah.
somewhere, I don't know where he would be, but Jim Harbaugh, probably in State College, maybe watching from a hotel room, has got to be smiling from ear to ear with the Wolverines with a gritty performance today. It's not over, though, folks. 4:15 to go. Penn State's going to need a quick offensive possession and then try to get the ball back after that. But the striped crowd is starting to leave the stadium already here in Happy Valley. Doman's going to kick this one away from the 35. It's a deep one, and Nick Singleton, as he's done all day, is going to let it go for a touchback. It seems like all of the energy has just been sucked out of this Beaver Stadium here in State College.
Definitely, and you can't really blame them. Again, Penn State crowd has been amazing here today. Very electric. Made this game a lot of fun. Made the atmosphere great. I mean, but time and time again, your offense fails to move the ball. 0 points here. A big goose egg in the second half for the Nittany Lions. Now they've got to take shots now.
Just 1 touchdown on the game for Penn State. They went for 2, didn't get it. A touchdown and field goal is all that shows for Penn State's offense. They need something here, though. Trips right for Aller. Aller drops back, looking, fires across the middle. A wobbler is picked off by Quentin Johnson. Call it the game, folks. That's it. Warm the buses and go home. My goodness, Quentin Johnson makes a great diving catch across the middle, and the Maize and Blue faithful are putting up their waving hands. That might be all she wrote. With 4:09 to go in the fourth quarter, the Maize and Blue are going to improve likely to 10-0, and Penn State's Big Ten championship hopes are just being washed away right now.
And one of our referees wants to be a party pooper and throwing a flag for Michigan's celebration. Well, Quentin Johnson, rather, with a great play. And if the game wasn't iced already, it certainly is now. Michigan will take the 15 for the unsportsmanlike celebration, excessive celebration. But, I mean, it's been a disastrous last 2 plays for Penn State. You first have the turnover on downs where Drew Aller threw it to absolutely nobody. And then this last play, he threw it to somebody. But it was Quentin Johnson. So
To the defense. Drew Aller, yeah, he was looking for Caden Saunders there. Nothing really doing. It was a wobbly throw across the middle as the pocket kind of collapsed in on him. But Aller just has struggled all day, really, to deal with the pressure. Just 51 passing yards today for the sophomore out of Medina, Ohio. And it's going to be a 15-yard unsportsmanlike conduct penalty on Michigan. It's on Quentin Johnson. So Michigan gets backed up to their own 42-yard line. Frankly, I don't think they really care too much, though, with 4:09 to go. J.J. McCarthy and Cornelius Johnson having some conversations here with Kalen King. I'm not sure what they'd be talking about. Looks like a friendly conversation with the projected first-round DB for Penn State. A couple of brothers on this Penn State defense out of Detroit, Michigan, and Kalen and Kobe King that decided not to go to Michigan. There was a big decision 3 years ago by both of them to instead go to the Navy blue and white here in Penn State. But Michigan's made them pay today. And this is going to mark 3 straight victories for the Wolverines against the Nittany Lions here. James Franklin, assuming the score holds, will drop to 3-7 possibly against Michigan. Keep in mind, without Jim Harbaugh today. And I'm not sure what the officials are doing here. They're moving the chains again. And it looks like, actually, this ball is going to be coming back. The officials have been looking at it. Michigan's rolling out their defense back on the field. And maybe, just maybe, take all of what I just said back. Penn State might still have a chance here.
I'm confused as to what happened. We'll get an explanation now. Wow.
Wow. Wow. So the officials rule that there was conclusive evidence to prove that there was no interception by Quentin Johnson. Wipe that thing away and then give Penn State the penalty. My goodness, what a turn of events here. So Penn State manages to move it 15 yards down the field with 4:09 to go. Down 15. They still have a shot, Owen. Well, maybe we don't warm the buses yet.
Don't warm the buses. Definitely don't warm the buses. But, again, 4:09, two-possession game. They're going to have to take shots. And we've seen what's happened in the last two plays when Penn State has tried to deviate away from either a run up the middle or a short pass within 5 yards. So a lot of work to do, but definitely do not warm the buses. Yes.
And you got to think, I mean, if Penn State's going to do something here, it has to be quick. The clock's starting to become their enemy. 3 receivers off to the right for Penn State. The quick snap to Katron Allen. He's going to run it up the middle. Allen runs over a Michigan defender and then gets all the way to the 50-yard line. A strong run by Katron Allen by the junior, and it's going to be a first down, says the lineman. So Penn State's going to go no huddle.
They got to go no huddle for the rest of this game inside of 4 minutes.
2 receivers off to the right. Penn State takes a snap. They're going to hand it off to Katron Allen. Once again, you got to think they got to start passing somewhat soon. They get 6 yards, though, on that play, up to the 44 of Michigan with 3:38 to go. Does Mike Yursich open the playbook here, considering there's 3:30 left? Aller in the gun. Claps his hands. Fakes the handoff. Aller's looking. Finds Cephas. Makes the catch. Makes Will Johnson miss. And then Will Johnson gets a little shoelace tackle at the 33. Good coverage by the Wolverines. 3:15 to go.
Johnson with a great job of keeping the receiver in bounds there. Keep that clock moving.
Trips right. They're bunched together. Aller, a little pump fake, looking across the middle for, oh my goodness, almost picked off by Quentin Johnson. Tyler Warren was the tight end looking for the catch. It went right through his hands and then through the hands of Quentin Johnson. So we'll have a 2nd and 10. That stops the clock with 3:03 to go. 24-9 in favor of Michigan is still the score here in this top 10 showdown. Penn State in the gun with Drew Aller. Twin set, 2 receivers off to the left and right. Lambert Smith trying to work on Will Johnson. Aller takes the snap, gets the football. Aller breaks out of the pocket, eludes some pressure, rolling left. He's going to take off. There goes Drew Aller up the left sideline and gets the first down and eventually out of bounds at around the 20-yard line, they say.
Got a flag.
There is a flag down in the backfield. We'll see what the call is.
Can't imagine it's something other than holding here.
Yeah, never usually a good sign for an offense when the flag's in your own backfield. Oh, wow. Well, just kidding. Illegal hands to the face on Michigan. Number 99, that's Camp Good for the Wolverines. And so Penn State gets the first down and continues to move forward here in addition to a 10-yard penalty. What a call. Nittany Lions with 2:53 to go, down 15. They need something. Aller in the gun here at the 10-yard line. 2 receivers off to the right. Singleton off to Aller's left hip. Drew motions McLean in motion, and then we're going to get a false start call. It was actually Saunders who came in motion. And it was number 74 for Penn State who jumped. That's Olu Fashanu, the left tackle for the Nittany Lions. And you just can't have that late in this game when they're trying to come back. Penn State's got to be frustrated.
You cannot have that at all. Still a shot to score here. 2.5 to go.
So 2:33 to go. Aller takes the snap. A ton of time. Aller steps up in the pocket. He's going to take off down the left sideline and then gets thrown out of bounds by Good and Mike Barrett.
I know Cam Good had the illegal hands to the face a couple plays ago, but on back-to-back plays, he's been chasing Drew Aller down. Another good hustle play from a big Michigan defensive tackle. They do not quit.
Aller in the shotgun as he's been working all day. 2 receivers off to his right. Aller looking. Thought he had Singleton. Eludes the pressure. Rolls out left. Fires across his body to the center of the end zone. Incomplete. Makari Page got a hand on it. He was looking for Theo Johnson. And now we have a 3rd and 7 for Penn State at Michigan's 8. 24-9. Still the score here in Happy Valley. 2:03 to go. Josiah Stewart comes off the field for the Wolverines. Will Johnson switches on to Dante Cephas here near the right sideline. 2 receivers off left for the Nittany Lions with Lambert Smith fronting them. Aller next to Singleton. Motion Saunders from left to right. The sophomore from Medina, Ohio gets the snap, fires across the middle. Touchdown, Penn State. Theo Johnson has it. And they'll get some fireworks going here in Beaver Stadium. Down 9 now. What's the play call? Keon Sabb checks into the game for the Wolverines on the 2-point conversion. 24-15 is the score. Number 10 Penn State trailing number 3 Michigan.
And Penn State was able to score without burning a timeout.
Very
Still
good point.
2 left.
Very, very good point. 2 left for Penn State. Wing T formation. They break out of it. Oh, my goodness. What is this formation? All of the offensive linemen, other than the center, are off to the left. Penn State with 3 skill position players on the right. Aller with it. Michigan's kind of confused. Looking to the end zone and incomplete. No 2-point conversion. And the Penn State fans are throwing bottles on the field now. They're not happy.
It's literally 24-15.
Wow.
You can go for 2, and they decide to do some crazy formation.
I just can't believe that, Owen.
It's just like, are you even taking this seriously?
1:59 to go in the 4th quarter, and James Franklin draws that up with Mike Yursich.
Yeah.
I cannot. It's a head scratcher. I mean, they had all, to be fair, they had all the offensive linemen on the left, and they had Michigan somewhat confused. I mean, they didn't really know what to do. But the Wolverines players that were on the skill position, receivers for Penn State, were, I mean, they had it completely covered.
They had it covered.
I can't believe that's the play call.
Yeah.
2 timeouts for Penn State. You got to think now you have to go for the onside kick. They're still down 2 possessions.
I'm with you. This completely changes the course of this mini momentum shift.
And Owen, is it crazy to say? Part of me almost thinks, honestly, that you kick the PAT
You
there.
can do either. You can do either. Eventually, you're going to have
You're
to
going
go
have
for
to
2.
eventually, but why not maybe kick the PAT, try to get the ball back, and at least have a chance to tie this game with zeros on the clock?
Yeah.
Instead, that's not the case.
Definitely valid. I'm very concerned about that play call.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm fine with you going for 2 there, but now you have to do an onside kick, and that's what they're lining up to do right now.
So the place kicker for the Nittany Lions, and they kick it off immediately, and Michigan recovers at the 45. The Wolverines are going to have it.
That's Sandra still. Good hands, man.
The kicker was Sander Sahadic, just the redshirt sophomore kicking it right into Michigan to Mike Sainristil, who has some very sure hands. He might play defense nowadays, but you know what? For some Michigan fans who have seen him from his first days, he has some sure hands there. And so Michigan recovers the onside kick with 1:58 to go. Only a second came off the clock there. 1st and 10 for the Wolverines at Penn State's 44. They'll try to shut this one away and shut it down. Michigan with 2 extra linemen into the game here. They have 3 tight ends in. McCarthy in the gun, hands it off to Corum. Blake gets about 2 or 3 yards before getting stood up immediately by Abdul Carter and Kobe King.
And Michigan is just going to look to run this clock out as Penn State
Yeah, Franklin's going to use a timeout.
burns their 2nd timeout, so this is all but over.
Yeah, 1:53 to go. So 5 seconds came off the game clock there. But Penn State's still down 9. I mean, it's just it seems insurmountable right here. They're backed in their own territory at their own 43-yard line. Michigan up 9 with the football on 2nd and 9. And Owen, I mean, it hasn't been pretty. It's been a very gritty Big Ten type of game. But what has Michigan done to win this game today? If you could sum it up in a few words.
It's just been their defense. They've strangled Penn State, not really giving them any opportunity with the exception of a couple of big plays. And the offense has scored when they've had to. It has not been a dominant showing by Michigan's offense, but the defense really set this whole team up for success.
And it seems somewhat reminiscent of Michigan's win 2 years ago here in Happy Valley. They'll hand this one off to Blake Corum up the middle. Corum still wrestling forward up to the 40 until Coby King throws him down. At the 39, the linemen say, so it's going to be 3rd and 5 for Michigan. With 1:47 to go, James Franklin's going to use his 3rd and final timeout. And just as I was saying, I mean, 2 years ago, a little bit closer of a game, a little bit more back and forth, but Michigan, it just took a few real big chunk plays. Of course, with that big one being to Eric All to win that game. It seemed like today's been somewhat similar. Blake Corum's had a couple of 30-plus yard runs. Other than that, it's been very small gains.
It's been similar in that regard. But in terms of the overall feel of control, like Michigan has had much more control throughout this game than they did throughout the 2021 game. And I think this go back to comparing those different teams as they're lined up, so I'll let you take over, Neal. We'll get back to it after this play.
Yeah, again, the same offensive jumbo set is in for the Wolverines. Couple extra offensive linemen. McCarthy hands it off. Corum up the middle, first down, and he gets wrestled down eventually by Winston Jr. at the 30. That will likely do it with 1:40 to go. Penn State has no timeouts. Michigan can go in the victory formation here and kneel it down. Is it fair to say you can maybe warm up the buses now?
I think we can warm up the buses, Neal, so I'll let everybody know. This is by far the most impressive win of Michigan's season. They were in control of this game. Now, there were some moments that maybe had some Michigan fans concerned, but they have been in full control of this game at the line of scrimmage. Their defense played phenomenal. Their offense didn't make mistakes. Edwards busted out a couple big runs. Corum did his thing. And it was tough sledding, but that's what it is against an elite Big Ten defense like Penn State. And they just don't have the offense to match. That's really the difference. And then you want to go to the off-the-field stuff. Michigan stayed locked in. They didn't let any of the outside noise distract them. You saw them on Twitter. What did they tweet, Neal?
Who are you talking about, Manny Diaz? And
what did the Michigan players tweet
the Michigan
night?
Players, bet.
They tweeted three letters, bet, which basically means okay in the younger generation. And
as McCarthy takes the second kneel with less than 40 seconds left, that's going to do it here. This one is over as a few. It's great to be a Michigan Wolverine chants break out. The maize and blue faithful are the majority of the fans now left here in Beaver Stadium. Michigan is going to improve to 10-0 on the season. They are now 7-0 in the Big Ten Conference. Penn State drops to 5-2 and 8-2 overall. Penn State is done. Their season with regards to the Big Ten Championship is over. They are now wiped from elimination as they can't. 2 losses from Ohio State doesn't do anything. Michigan or Ohio State will be representing the Big Ten East in that game. For the Wolverines, all this means really is that game on November 25th, as it always has been for the last 3 years, and even before that, 2018 and 2016, will be for it all. For the Big Ten East crowd, for a chance to go to the Big Ten Championship. Michigan wins it without their head coach, Jim Harbaugh, 24-15, as the number 3 Wolverines knock down the number 10 Nittany Lions. Owen, this was everything Michigan needed to do. As we said, it wasn't anything pretty. It was gritty. But the Wolverines get out of here with the W. They got to be happy. Jim Harbaugh's got to be smiling wherever he is. You look ahead now, the Wolverines will be heading to Maryland. It's the big backstretch of this season, and their 3 biggest games of the season. What do you look out for, and what did this game teach you about this squad?
This game confirmed what I think all of us already knew. That this Michigan team doesn't let the outside noise get to them, that they're balanced on both sides of the ball. They have one of the best rushing attacks while also having a Heisman contending quarterback. You have a defense that a lot of fans had lower expectations for. That's arguably been the most impressive part of this team so far this year. Then you go to the mentality, the collective consciousness that I say this Michigan team has. I mean, they know what they have to do. They know their individual roles, and they go out every day in practice in each game on Saturday, and they execute accordingly. And yesterday, 16 hours from kickoff, they got news that their head coach might not only be with them for this game, but for the remainder of the season. And their play style didn't change at all. They overcame a hostile environment here in Penn State, and they kept it rolling with the most impressive win of the season. Now you look at Maryland, a team that started off hot, that a lot of Michigan fans say would be a trap game. They've seemed to have fallen off a cliff recently. And then the big one, the game. Can Michigan make it 3 straight in what many think will be the best season of Michigan football for years to come? And what many think is the greatest chance for Michigan to secure the ultimate crown. I'm excited. I know you are, Neal. It's been a pleasure calling this game with you.
It definitely has been great. And, you mentioned a couple things there that I want to hit on. The first of which, Sharon Moore. I mean, he deserves his flowers today and honesty for this whole season. It's now his second game that he's acted as the head coach for this Michigan squad. For all we know, he could be the head coach for the next 2 games, maybe even 3 games. We'll see what happens for the Wolverines. But, I mean, as you mentioned, the play style didn't change. The relentlessness didn't change. Michigan stayed unfazed through and through, all led by their leader, J.J. McCarthy, who's putting crowns on his receivers and running backs, and Blake Corum right now at midfield. But Michigan gets the dub. They will move on. And speaking of J.J. McCarthy, you mentioned that he was a little bit more of a Heisman contending quarterback up until about a week or 2 ago. Only 60 yards today. Does that put him out of the Heisman conversation? I mean, he did what they needed to win the game, but it's nothing pretty either.
No, it didn't help his Heisman out. When I say Heisman caliber, I mean purely in talent and skill. I could care less about the award. But if you're asking the question, I think it probably does maybe put him out of the award. But it has to be said, he did a great job of guiding this team to a win. And if leadership and other non-statistical categories were considered, I think JJ would make an excellent case. But that's not what Michigan fans should be concerned about right now. Obviously, the Heisman Award is a great thing.
Yeah.
But you have a 10-0 team right now.
Yeah.
That is looking to secure their 3rd straight Big Ten crown, their 3rd straight win over Ohio State. So we're at an all-time high. It's funny. We think we're at an all-time high for Michigan, but Jim Harbaugh could be suspended for the remainder of the season. That speaks to how good this team is this year.
It does. And I mean, just as we've said, I know we sound probably like a broken record at this point, but this Michigan team, man, through everything that they've gone through, we haven't seen a team deal with so much outside noise like this. Honestly, I can't even remember the best example in recent years. I think of Auburn with Cam Newton, that drama in 2011, if he should be eligible to play or not. A few other situations as well. But, I mean, they lost their coach for 3 games at the start of the season. Might be losing him for the last 3 games to end the season. I mean, it's just unreal what this squad is doing. And they haven't even been tested too much. I mean, even today, Penn State, yes, was in this game, but it felt like Michigan was in control. And what do you think, defensively speaking, because you mentioned how the defense really won this game for the Wolverines, what specifically just stifled Penn State over and over? Was it the defensive line? Which level of the defense do you think was best?
I think the consistency on all 3 levels. The defensive line especially was very impressive this afternoon, but don't get it twisted. Penn State is not an elite offense in terms of the top ranks of college football. It's truly their defense that has been driving their success this season, as J.J. McCarthy skipping around towards the end zone, visiting the Michigan faithful in the front row. And look how hyped up he is, man. That's great to see. But, yeah, I mean, Michigan consistently, on every phase of their defense, I think is what led them to win this game and really has helped drive their success all season.
Certainly. The next stops, as we said, for Michigan will be on the road at Maryland. They'll finish out their regular season at home in the game against their arch rival down south in Ohio State. Of course, that game will be played, though, in the big house, For Penn State, their last 2 games will be at home against Rutgers and then on the road at Michigan State in a Friday night game the day after Thanksgiving in Ford Field. That'll be a fun one to watch for sure. But for Michigan, they came in, they did their job. Even without their leader, their voice in the locker room, Jim Harbaugh, they still got it done. And it's certainly a testament to the characters of every single one of these players that time and time again they answer to the ring of the bell. They show up and do their job, and they stay unfazed, man. And we'll see what happens on November 25th They'll have to start it next week, November 18th against Maryland, but it's certainly looking good for the Maize and Blue. We want to say thank you so much to all of our listeners on WCBN on YouTube. We really appreciate all of the support that we always get. We appreciate all of the comments in the live chat and etc. We look forward to having you for all of our future broadcasts. As usual, we broadcast all things Michigan athletics, from soccer to football to basketball to even water polo. We do it all here. So thank you, and stay tuned for some more WCBN sporting events. For Neal Sinha and Owen Klein, we want to say thank you, and we'll see you next time on WCBN Sports on YouTube.
Take care.
Yep.